Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, CatNap Deku, written by Dog Day 2006. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. New body Izuku POV as I stand on the roof, the number one hero, my idol crushing my dreams in front of my face. I stand there emotionless. I grab my backpack and pull out a syringe holding purple liquid. I found it in science class in a drawer that said poison, but I never thought I'd want to use it. It wasn't green like the others, but I didn't care. I grabbed my phone and started texting my mom and Kakin goodbye and how I was such a disappointment. I put my phone on silent. Putting the syringe to my neck. I take a deep breath knowing it's for the best. I put the syringe in my neck. As the liquid goes into me, I sit there waiting to die, but instead of just passing out, a pain goes through my body. I try standing up, but I fall to the ground as purple fur consumes my hands as my thumbs retracts and my fingers start reforming into large cat-like paws. My feet burst out of my shoes showing same paws as my hands. My arms and legs start elongating. My uniform starts ripping as my body gets bigger. My uniform rips off, show a purple furry body, but what made my body scream is my head before everything goes dark. The next thing I know, I wake up in a garage. I lift my head that feels heavier. I look around to see a ton of unfinished inventions, some missing a certain component. I stand up but fall on all fours, my head bopping the ceiling. I try walking around, barely able to move, but I collapse on the ground again with a loud thud. I hear footsteps coming from behind a door that surprised me. The door opens, showing a short girl with quite a mature build. She has salmon pink hair, which is generally shoulder length, although it does vary, which is styled into thick dreadlocks and sideswept to her right. Her eyes are wide and sloped upwards with some notably long upper eyelashes, their irises green-yellow with a cross in the center, making them look somewhat like scope lenses. Not my description. MHA Fandom Wiki. Oh, you're awake. You've been out for a while, ever since I found you on that roof. She says. I try to speak, but I cough with red smoke coming from my mouth that smells like lavender. I wouldn't try speaking. Your vocal cords have been replaced by a gas tank. She says as I look around before pointing at a mirror with an unsteady paw/hand. Oh, here. She says as she sets the mirror in front of me. I look at my reflection. I see I have black eyes with white pupils with a big toothless mouth with what looks like a pipe in my throat. It's quite creepy. Here, try writing something down. She says, setting a slab of wood in front of me. You don't have any thumbs, so you're going to need to use your claw. She says as I claw something on the wood before pushing it to her. How did you find me? I write down, oh yeah, I saw you on the roof with my Quirk. I was in an abandoned building looking for parts and I saw your whole transformation. You passed out and I came to get. I ran by a skinny blonde man. She says as a frown forms on my face knowing it's AM as I write down something else. My name Izuku. I write down, oh yeah, I totally forgot to introduce myself. My name is Hatsume. She says as I nod, oh, and here's this. It might not be useful in your situation, but here. She says, handing my backpack to me. I grab it before carefully unzipping it before pulling out my notebooks and an All Might figurine. My pupils turn dark as I clench my paw, destroying it. Oh, you don't like All Might, why's that? She says in worry. I write down on the wood, All Might crush my dream in front of my face. I write down, oh, I didn't know All Might could be that harsh. She says I try to stand up again but I collapse again. Oh, are you okay? I scanned your body. Your entire skeleton has been replaced with a metal endoskeleton. You're lucky to even be able to move your paw. You're gonna need to sleep for now. Your body is still adjusting to your new endoskeleton. She says as I nod as I write one more thing on the wood, favorite food katsudon. I write down, alright, I'll wake you for dinner in a few hours. She says as she walks out, as I lay my head down. 10 months later. Izuku POV as I walk along the alley carrying a bag of food with my tail. Help. A female voice yells as I walk toward the scream, seeing a man with a knife hand and a lady on the ground. I walk towards them behind the villain. Now give me everything you have. The villain yells at the woman, but the woman stays silent, staring at something behind him in complete horror. Ha ha ha, do you have acmophobia or something? Fear of knives. The villain laughs before hearing breathing behind him, but before he could turn around I hit him in the side into a wall, immediately knocking him out. I turn to look at the lady. I unzip my chest, showing a few buttons inside my chest. I click a green button as a speaker's sound can be heard. Be safe next time when going in the alleys, it's dangerous. I say as I walk away. 5 minutes later I walk into a garage seeing May working on one of her inventions. Here I got you the things you need, an energy drink, a new screwdriver, and some chocolate. I set the bag on her work table as I lay on my built-in bed in the garage. Thanks Izu. She says, turning off her blow torch before grabbing the chocolate from the bag before sitting down on the bed leaning on my furry chest. A purring sound can be heard. Are you purring? She chuckles and I blush. You know I'm gonna miss you when you enter you, eh? So what invention do you have? I ask. Oh here look. She says, standing up excitedly rushing to her work desk. I chuckle before she pulls out a literal gun startling me. Don't worry, it's not loaded with anything, it's actually a compressed water gun. Water if compressed can cut through anything, even diamonds. She says with an excited face. I chuckle. Hey, why are you laughing? She says, sorry, every time you show a new invention you have this face that looks like you are just going to explode into confetti. I say. She blushes in embarrassment. I chuckle. You know you're cute when you're blushing. I say, teasing her. Her face turns completely red, but before she could speak I move her toward me with my tail as I lay her next to me. Get some sleep, you'll need the energy for your test for the support course. I say as I lay my head down as she lays next to me. USJ Izu POV. It's been a week and May having to finish several assignments, but I got a pass into UA. The principal is the only person. No, I pick her up after passing out every time when she finishes one of her inventions. I'm currently bringing her lunch. I was about to click the button to call over a pro hero, but I hear the sound of an engine. I turn to look at a blue-haired boy in armor about my age running at me. He stops in front of me. Have you called a pro hero yet? He says, taking a breath. No, not yet. What's happening? I asked. Villains attacking the USJ, he said. Why would anyone want to attack Universal Studio Japan? I say. Never mind, I need pro heroes now, he says. The button's right here, I might go check it out. I say. Wait, what's danger dash? The boy says, but before the boy could speak I was running in the direction where he came from and the boy rushed inside the school. About 2 minutes later I make it to a ginormous dome. The door blew open. I walk in. I see a group of people in costumes. I then see something fly into the sky, flying out the dome. I walk past the students. And down the stairs. Hey, stop, a brown-haired girl in a skin-tight suit yells. I would help him. I say, pointing at a man in black clothing and a scarf being carried by a small weird costumed student and a frog-like student. I unzip my chest, pressing a button in my chest as red gas comes out of the tube in my mouth as the red gas covers the area from above. Nothing to be seen but red gas. Terrifying screams can be heard. I walk around in the gas. I heard something I would never thought I would hear, the sound of Bakugo crying. I walk over in the direction of him. Before I know it, Bakugo was at my feet crying. My eyes turn red as I see what he sees. Everyone we have ever met saying stuff like, "You're weak," says All Might. "You quirkless loser, by me, you're a mistake." His mother says. The fear of failure. I say, before grabbing a gas mask from my chest as I put it over his face, stopping the voices. I place him on my back. I hear another cry. I see a spiky red-haired boy staring at a lifeless body of a pink girl in a junior high uniform. I grab a gas mask and put it over his face as he collapses. I catch him and put him on my back. As I walk around I hear the sound of crying. I look down to see the illusion of boiling water. I walk in the direction of the sobbing. I then see a boy, half his body covered in ice with half red and half white hair with a burn mark, his face right under his red-sided hair. I look around. He's curled up on ground, boiling water surrounding him. I put a mask to his face as he calms down before falling asleep. I set him on my back. I then see an area where the gas didn't get to. As I come out of the gas I see a purple smoke person and a man with hands on his body as they have a standoff against AM, but AM sounds tired, definitely running out of time in that buff form. I use my tail to grab the three on my back, putting them on the ground. I watch the standoff before the hand villain charges at AM. AM definitely at his limit. Before I know it, with a burst of speed I'm in front of the hand villain, his hand about to touch me. I grab his arm before snapping it with quick motion. The villain collapses yelling, "Out of my way dash," he says. As he uses his other hand to touch me, but before he could touch me a bullet hits him in the hand as two other gunshots hit his legs, making him collapse again in pain. More gunshots happen, but the purple smoke guy blocks the bullets from the man before the smoke guy becomes a portal teleporting them away. The red gas fades showing villains on the ground having panic attacks. I was lucky to get Baku and the other two out before that happens. I see pro heroes coming down the stairs. Thank you, who are you? AM asks, as half his body buff and the other skinny. I click the button in my chest, someone who once admired you. I say, walking off and towards the stairs. As I walk up the stairs I run into pro hero Vlad King with Principal Nizu on his shoulder. So this the boy that has been taking care of that crazy girl in the support course. Vlad says, me and Nizu chuckle, but we thank you very much for helping All Might and those three. Nizu says as we see Bakugo, the red-haired boy and the half-ice boy walking up still coughing up some red gas. Don't worry, it's only temporary, it might cause some illusion but they'll be fine by tomorrow. I say, as Nizu nods. I have a request that we have an open spot for Class 1A. A student wasn't made for hero work. Nizu says, handing a paper to me as I take the paper. I'll think about it. I say, putting it in my chest pouch next to my gas chamber as I walk out. Why not Izu POV in the garage? As I sleep I hear the door open. I open my eyes and see May wearing a mask holding gas tanks labeled sleep gas, fear gas, illusion gas, mustard gas. I sit up tired as I unzip my chest showing my gas chamber. About 5 minutes later she puts in the last tank. She was about to zip my chest back up but I feel her pull something out of my chest. My eyes shot open at the sound of paper. Izu, why are you hiding this? She says, worried. I look down wondering on how I should answer this. Was it before the roof incident? She says, putting her hand to my cheek as a tear goes down my cheek. I was quirkless before I met you and this happened. I say, as I put my paw on her hand. I was told I could never be a hero without a quirk. My idol even said it. My own mother was the only person keeping me together but I had to let her go. I thought that syringe had poison but it turned me into this. I say. May gasp. I know, but when I met you I found a whole new meaning but could never be a hero. I say. Who's stopping you now? May says. Myself. I say, as May looks at me with worry before kissing me. Don't let the past get in the way of your life with me. Join that class and live the dream you had before. May said, as I blushed from the kiss, thank you, I'll try. I say, kissing her before grabbing the paper and sign up. If you're wondering, it's kinda hard to make it to where he's non-stop smiling, so I made it to where his mouth moves. That's the idea. Ochiko Nun POV. In a meeting room, the police have investigated the group that calls themselves the League of Villains. We found no match in the 20s and 30s quirk registry, for the name Shigaraki, or a quirk that crumbles everything with his touch. Same for the one called Kurojiri, with his warp gate. They're not citizens nor users or aliases. They haven't registered their quirks as a part of the underground society. Says Tsukachi. That means we have no information about them. Vlad King says. We have to hurry. Once Shigaraki, the ring leader's, gunshot wound is healed, they'll try again for sure. Snip says. It's a bold attack that many wouldn't put into action, even if they'd thought of it. Suddenly making an absurd Rema, and while hiding his own quirk, he brags about Nomu's quirk. And when things don't go his way he becomes visibly upset. Well, as for the quirk, I'm sure it was meant to draw me out. AM says, still, it was foolish to abandon the advantage of having unknown quirks when fighting against heroes. Nizu says. A plausible, and childish remark. Bragging about his possessions, a simple mind that expects everything to go his way. What I understood about his fighting style is that he's a man-child who still has a childish sense of supremacy. AM says. Basically, a child with power. Vlad King says. Did he not receive the quirk counseling that every child receives in school? Midnight says. And. What does that have to do with this? Snipe says. 72 villains were arrested the other day at USJ. They were all kids that can be found in the alleys. But the problem is that they all support the man-child and follow him here. The current society is filled with heroes, so villains are feeling oppressed, and they may be drawn to such simple-minded Evi. Tsukachi says. True. VK says. There are many people who don't know what to do with their quirks. Snipe says. A sobering thought. Midnight says. Well, thanks to the heroes, we can concentrate on our investigation. We'll expand our investigation and concentrate on arresting the criminals. Tsukachi says. A man-child. In a way, our students are like that too. There's room for growth. If someone is backing him, trying to mature that evil. Nizu says. Izu POV in class 1. Hey, did you watch the news last night? For a second, the entire class was on. But I didn't stand out at all, huh? Hagakure says. It's hard to stand out in that outfit. Ojiro says. But, all the channels were featuring that news, huh? Kaminari says. It can't be helped. The hero course that creates pro-heroes was attacked. Jiro says, what would have happened if the teachers didn't come? Sero says, but AM was amazing. He beat off those strong villains. Sato says, yeah, it's an astonishing strength, Tokoyami says. The morning homeroom is about to start. Quiet down and take your seats. Iida says, rushing in, we're already seated, you're the only one who's not. Sero says, as Iida sits down irritated at his mistake. Tsuyu, I wonder who's teaching the homeroom today. Mina asks. True. Since Aizawa is supposedly in the hospital for his injuries. Tsuyu says, before the door opens showing Aizawa covered in bandages, morning. Aizawa says. Aizawa, you're back so soon. 1A yells. What a pro. Kami says, teacher, our dash. Iida says, before goes pale seeing me walking in behind Aizawa, it's him. Uraraka says. My welfare is of no concern but I would like to introduce your new classmate replacing the last one. Aizawa says, as I unzip my chest as everyone gets in battle positions I click a button before a mic sound can be heard. Did you really think I would attack you all? If I did you all would be knocked out in a few seconds. I say, as everyone sits down a little nervously I look at Bakugo staring at me intensely. My name is Izuori. I say, go sit down behind Bakugo. Aizawa says, as I walk past Bakugo before laying on the ground like a cat, the dots in my eyes disappear. Now that's out of the way I have one thing to say, your battle isn't over yet. Aizawa says. Battle. Baku says. The villains again. Mineta says, scared. UA Sports Festival is around the corner. Aizawa says. Finally, a normal school event, the class yells. Sports Festival, the class says. Finally, a normal school event. Kira yells, in excitement before Kami stops him. Wait. Kami says. Is it okay to have a sports festival when we just had a villain attack? Jiro says. What if they attack us again? Ojiro says. By going through with this event, we want to prove that UA's crisis management system is outstanding. Security will be 5 times stronger this year. Above all, our sports festival is a big chance. It shouldn't be cancelled because of some villains. Aizawa says. No. Let's dash. Mineta says, before my tail WHPS the back of his head. Shut up, you don't know how important this is. I say. Our sports festival is one of Japan's big events. The Olympics used to be called the Festival of Sports, and it excited the entire country. Now it's reduced in scale and population and it's just a mere formality. Currently, the UA Sports Festival has taken the place of the Olympics. Aizawa says. All the top heroes in the country will be watching for scouting purposes. Momo says. After graduation, it's normal to join a pro agency as a sidekick. Kami says, from there many miss their chance to become independent and are forever sidekicks. Kaminari, I think that's you. BC you're dumb. Jiro says. Of course, being in a popular hero agency will provide more experience and popularity. Time is limited. If you're chosen by a pro, it instantly opens your future. Once a year, there's only a total of 3 chances. No aspiring hero can let this chance pass by. If you have the will, be sure to prepare. Aizawa says, yes. The class yells. Lunchtime as the bell rings, we had that incident but I'm so excited. Kira says, if we do well and stand out, it's a big step to becoming a pro. Sero says. It was worth entering UA. Sato says, the chances are limited. We can't let it pass by. Toko says, as everyone talks, I sit at the charger charging my voice box, you're lucky, Shoji. Your bulky body itself stands out. Kami says, a little jealous, but I need them to know how useful I am. But what about him? Shoji says, pointing at me looking at them in secret, he'll be lucky to even get chosen. Jiro says. Everyone, I will give my best. Uraraka yells loudly before I walk up behind her. I'm trying to take a nap, don't yell or you're going to sleep. I say, as she looks at me in terror before I walk to the door. In the halls, why are you following us? Iida asks, as I follow Iida and Uraraka, BC I feel comfortable around you too weirdly. Uraraka. I say, what is it? Uraraka says. Why did you come to UA wanting to be a pro hero? I ask, the reason, Uraraka says, I stop. Money. You want to become a hero for the money. I say, surprised. Ultimately, yes I'm sorry it's so selfish. Iida, you have such great motives. I'm so embarrassed. Uraraka says. Why? What's wrong with building your goals around your livelihood? Iida says. My family owns a construction company but we don't have any work so we're poor. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but Uraraka says. Construction. Iida says. With Uraraka's quirk, her certification will help to cut costs. I say. She can make any material float. You don't need heavy machinery. Iida says. Very useful quirk. I say. Right. I said that when I was little. I'm going to become a hero and make money so my mom and dad can take it easy. Uraraka says, determined. Ha 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 I found young Ori. Am says pointing at me, All Might. What do you want? I say, irritated. Lunch, let's eat together. Am says, but I turn away. I'll pass. I said, what, why? Iida says. He did something that you wouldn't understand. I say. I need to talk to you, Izuku. Am says, hesitantly I stop my claws digging in the ground. Fine, I say, walking to him. In the lounge, how the F-sharp CK do you know my name? I yell. Let me explain. Am says. You better. I say. I went into your files to find your name was similar to a boy I met on a roof. Was that you? Am said, I knowed. Well, do you remember what I said? Am says, sorry kid you can't be a hero without a quirk. I say, angrily. No it's about my injury during my fight in the USJ I overused my quirk and now I can only use my quirk for 50 minutes you know we're alike. You and I, Am says. I gave up that life months ago. I say, to myself. Never mind, here's your tea. More importantly, the sports festival. Can you make it? Am says, well my body's different, I'm more than I was before but I should go. I say, standing up and going to the door before I could grab the door handle with my paw. I turn around as my tail turns off the light leaving two dots where I was staring, don't tell anyone my identity or I won't hesitate to leave. I say, before the light flickers back on and I'm gone. Thought he may say that. AM says, drinking his tea. Sports Festival Izu POV. After lunch with Class 1A, I lay in the corner with an open eye as Class 1A stares at the entire school in front of the door. What's your business with Class A? Iida says, inspecting the enemy, you some. Since we all survived the villain attack. So they came to inspect us. There's no point in doing that. Move, rubbernecker. Baku says, walking to the door, I came to see the rumored Class A, but you're pretty arrogant. Is everyone in the hero course like this? Says a tired purple-haired boy, no, just this idiot. I say as I stand behind Baku staring at the students. Seeing things like this disillusions me. There are a lot of students in the ordinary, and other, courses BC they couldn't get into the hero course. But this freak got in without any training. Shinso says before the dots in my eye sockets turn red, you really think I'm a freak? I would love to see you fight me BC you are. I say as my tail wraps around his chest, I could knock you out in seconds and you wouldn't hear a word I say, and don't assume I'm weak. I can break every F-sharp king bone in your body, but that's not what heroes do now F-. I said before, Izu. May yells as she pushes through the crowd, May, aren't you supposed to be in support class? I say, your anger meter in your body went to 8, so please calm down. She says, fine Iida, find Aizawa, we need to clear out these guys. I say, already on it. Iida says as all the students walk away but the purple-haired boy who stands there speechless, go or I'll make you. I say as Shinso walks off leaving us, don't let people get to you. I say as I walk out as everyone wonders if they should be scared or thankful. The next day at U. Gates as reporters wait to interview, the security inspection is taking so long. A reporter says bored, they were just attacked by villains, of course they're being careful. There's some criticism against the festival this year. Says reporter 2, controversy equals good ratings. The main attraction is Class 1A, say reporter 1A waiting room, I wanted to wear my costume. Says Mina, we can't, since we have to be fair. Ojiro says, I wonder what the preliminary event is. Sato says, we just need to work with it, no matter what it is. Toko says before the door opens, everyone, are you ready? It's almost time to go. Iida says as I lay there before hearing footsteps coming my way, what do you need? I say, eyes still closed, looking at it objectively, I think I'm more capable than you. But you've being favored by all me dash. To-do says as I stand up towing over him, do you think you scare me Endeavor's son? I whisper as To-do clenches his fist before he tries to put his hand to my chest, but I grab his wrist, do you want the same treatment as that villain from the USJ? I clench my fist, my claw digging into his wrist, but To-do stands there unfazed, I will beat you. To-do says, the best in the class is declaring war. Kami says, why are you two starting a fight all of a sudden? Stop it. Kira says putting his hand on Shoto's shoulder, but Shoto pushes his hand away, we're not here to play friends. Does it even matter? Shoto says pulling his arm away leaving deep scratch marks on his arm, Shoto. I do know you're far above me. As far as ability, you're far above most people looking at it objectively. I say, don't be so negative, or dash. Kira says before I rip a string from around my lip as my mouth becomes functional, I'm going to aim for it. I say, my mouth now moving as everyone stares intently at us, hey, get ready, audience. Come forward, mass media. It's the high school fighting ground that you all love. Everybody, the UA Sports Festival is about to start. Are you ready? First-year students will now enter. Present Mike yells on the combs as Mai and the rest of Class 1A walk out of a tunnel. UA Sports Festival, the once-a-year battle where rookie heroes engage in fierce competition to take the top. You all want to see these guys, right? Although attacked by the enemy, they overcame it with hearts of steel. The marvelous new stars. Hero Course Class 1A. PM says me and my class walk out as I fumble with my jaw that is finally free from that smile. Will we be able to give our best performance in front of this crowd? This is also a part of the training to become a hero. Iida says walking next to me, they're really putting us on a pedestal. It's making me nervous. Right, Bakugo? Kira says, no, it's getting me excited. Baku says, they're not attracting much attention, but they are full of talent too. Hero Course Class 1B. Next is Ordinary Courses C, D, and E. And Support Courses F, G, H are here too. PM says as I blush at the sight of Mei in her gear, and the Management Courses I, J, and K. This is all of UA's first-year students. PM yells in the middle of the stadium. Midnight stands on a pedestal, Players Pledge. Midnight says as everyone blushes, what is Midnight wearing? Kira says, as expected of an 18-plus hero. Kami says, can a 18-plus be in a high school? Toko says, quite student representative. 1A, Izu Ori. Midnight says as everyone, even my eyes widen. I feel the anger of 1,000 men behind knowing it's Baku. I stand up towering over everyone. He's the one that stopped the villains before the heroes showed up in the USJ. Says Kami. I walk up the stairs onto the pedestal as I unzip my chest and click a button as a mic sound can be heard as I change it to a softer tone, trying not to sound scary before standing at the mice. I have no pledge, but I can say plus ultra. I say as the whole stadium and some students cheer. I smirk as I see Baku stare in disbelief before my eyes widen. I made my voice too similar to past me. I thought as I walked down the stairs, now let's start right away. Many drink their tears here every year. The fateful first event. It is an obstacle race course. All 11 classes will participate. The course is approximately 4 kilometers around the stadium. Freedom is our school's selling point. You can do whatever you want, as long as you stay on course. Now take your place. Midnight says at the entrance to the obstacle course. 3 green lights go down as everyone is in a running stance as the last light goes out. Start. Midnight yells as everyone runs through the tunnel, pushing past everyone else. I jump off the walls, making my way to the exit. Then I notice cold air coming from the tunnel. I just out jump in time but fall on some ice. F# CK Todoroki. I say as To-Do runs by me as some of Class 1A come out of the tunnel. I won't let you get your way, you two-tone JRK. Bakugo says, propelling himself at Todoroki. I run on the ice, digging my claws into the ice as I manage to keep the pace with the others as Mineta throws his ball onto the ice before bouncing off them towards Todoroki. I could barely hear, but Mineta is saying stupid stuff. Before I know it, a metal hand punches Mineta away. I then hear what sounds like a robot. I WHP around, slashing my claws at the robot's head, cutting it into pieces. Robots. I say, a little excited to finally fight without any casualties. The sudden appearance of the obstacles. Now to begin with the first barrier. Robo Inferno. PM says, you gotta be SH. Ting me. I say, staring at the so-called 0-pointers blocking our path. Where do they get money from this? Momo says, before a 0-pointer goes to attack, I notice the ice surrounding the area around Todoroki before he flings his hand up with ice going all up the 0-pointer. That won't hold for long. I ran past Todoroki, surprised that I noticed what he was doing as I could hear a faint grumble from Todoroki before he chased after me. Todoroki from Class 1A. Attacked and defended at once. Followed with Izu Ori from Class 1A running by with great speed, must be the speed of a cheetah. PM yells as I continue running away from the collapsing 0-pointers in their own ways. Izu POV at a stadium, UAA Sports Festival, first year preliminary round. The first event is the obstacle race. The only rule is to stay on course. It's a chicken race where anything goes. The exciting progress will be brought to you by the robot cameras placed around the course. Now, can the golden eggs, aiming to be heroes, get past the first obstacle, Robo Inferno? PM says, before a 0-pointer goes to attack, I notice the ice surrounding the area around Todoroki before he flings his hand up with ice going all up the 0-pointer. That won't hold for long. I ran past Todoroki, surprised that I noticed what he was doing as I could hear a faint grumble from Todoroki before he chased after me. Todoroki from Class 1A. Attacked and defended at once. Followed with Izu Ori from Class 1A running by with great speed must be the speed of a cheetah. PM yells as I continue running away from the collapsing 0-pointers, hey. Someone's trapped underneath, yells Person 1, are they dead? Person 2 says before Kiri breaks out from under the 0-pointer, as if I'd die. Kiri yells as his body is hardened, 1A Kirishima was trapped underneath. PM says, that Todoroki. He timed it so that it would fall. If it was anyone else, they'd be dead. Kiri says Kirishima Ijiro. Quirk hardening. He can harden his body. It can be a strong weapon and a strong shield. PM narrates, Class A is full of JRKS. Tetsu yells breaking out from underneath the 0-pointer, his body made of steel. Class B's Tetsutetsu was also trapped underneath. PM yells, if it was anyone else, they'd be dead. Tetsu says, Tetsutetsu. Quirk steel. His body becomes like steel. It can be a strong weapon and a strong shield. PM narrates, our quirks are identical. I'm already tiny as it is, Kiri says as small tears fly off his face, just you wait. Tetsu says, they're so lucky. They can move on without being crushed. Kami says, for now, let's all work together to make a way out, a student says as hardened scales form on his arm before Baku propels himself in the air as goes to the top of the 0-pointer. 1A, Bakugo. He goes over since he can't go under. PM says, you seem the type to just bulldoze straight through but you avoided that. Sero says using his tape to get to the top of the 0-pointer followed by Toko and Dark Shadow. Sero Hanta. His quirk is tape. He emits a tape-like material from his elbow. He can roll it and use it to move himself, or cut it off and use it as a trap. PM narrates, Tokoyami Fumikage. His quirk is Dark Shadow. He hosts a shadow-like monster that materializes from his body and acts as an extension of him. PM narrates Baku jumps off the 0-pointer followed by Sero and Toko as the crowd cheers, as expected. The ones in the lead are mostly from Class A. Snipe says, the other courses in Class B aren't bad either. But AM says, they won't be around for long. Aizawa says as Iida runs and kicks a robot down while Jiro uses her earphone jacks to take down 2 robots, and Kama shocking the hell out of a robot. After that experience at USJ, some experience firsthand the world around them. Aizawa says as Uraraka puts her fingers together as several robots drop onto the ground, some experienced fear, some tackled it and surpassed it, they're using their experience to overcome their hesitation. Aizawa says as I race next to Todoroki, I can't use my gas contesters, it'll lower my chance in the finals. I thought while I kept running with to-do glaring at me, during the exam, they were to be avoided, but as something to be crushed, they're just stupid chunks of metal. You can spot their weakness. Snipe says, that first barrier was too easy. Then what about the second? If you fall, you're out. If you don't want that, you must crawl. The fall. Mike says from afar I hear a giggle knowing who it is as I smirk, different types of people are trying to get their chance. Right, Eraser hard. Mike says, why are those idiots stopping? Aizawa says, irritated, the 2 leads are still neck to neck with their incredible skill and speed. Mike says as I manage to keep a pace close to do while running on the rope, UJRKS. Baku yells propelling himself from above, the guys in the lead are way ahead. Person 1 says, his quirk is strong, but what about the large cat? Somehow he keeps up, even though he never showed his quirk. Person 2 says, the leaders are up ahead but everyone is clumped behind. The number of people to pass the stage hasn't been announced, so don't slack off and keep on going. Mike says minefield, oh you gotta be kidding me. I say staring at a big minefield, we're already at the final barrier. What could it be? It is a minefield. The mines are placed so that they can be found if you're careful. Work those eyes and legs. The landmines are meant for use in competition so they're not powerful, but the sound and sight of them will be flashy, so don't wet yourself. Mike says, dang it I won't be able to run fast enough to not set them off, but my body has caught in it. If I manage to keep my body weight at a minimum I could avoid setting them off, I thought to myself as I stepped forward, keeping my body's weight at a minimum, luckily not setting it off. I start walking normally as Todoroki slowing, moving to avoid the mine. Amazing, Ori has perfectly balanced his weight. I never thought that was possible. Mike says as some students on accident setting a mine off, sending them flying before Baku propels himself above the mines heading straight for Todo. This doesn't bother me. You were declaring war on the wrong person. Baku says, throwing an explosion at Todo. Now we have a new second place lead. Be happy, mass media. It's the kind of development you love. Well. The rest are speeding up as well. Will the second and third place lead the pack while Ori stays ahead? Mike says. I continued going before I heard several clicks before I could react. The explosions send me barreling into Todo and Baku, knocking us down. Wow. Ori got sent back straight into Bakugo and Todoroki. What will Ori do? Mike says before I dig my claws in the ground. Stopping, an idea goes through my head. My tail extends a long length wrapping around Baku and Todo, using their weight to slingshot myself forward as I pass the minefield, but Baku and Todo come at me fast. Amazing. Ori slingshots himself with his extendable tail. Amazing. Mike says, you cat, don't you dare get ahead of me. Baku yells, propelling himself forward while Todo creates an ice path. The leaders of this have stopped their grappling and they are now running to catch up to Ori. Eraserhead, your class is amazing. What are you teaching them? Mike says, I'm not doing anything. They're igniting each other on their own. Aizawa says as I run into the tunnel, followed by Todoroki and Bakugo. UA Sports Festival first year stage. Who could have predicted this development, or this ending from the start of the race? The first to return to the stadium. That man is Ori Izuku. Mike says as I run into the stadium, the entire stadium cheering, which once in my life made me happy to see people cheer for me. A few minutes later, the first game of the year's stage is finally finished. Now please view the results. Midnight says, basically it's the same. 42 made it through the preliminary. Even if you didn't make it through, don't worry. You still have a chance to shine. Next, the real game begins. From here on, the press will be excited. Do your best. Now, for the second event. Although I know what it is. What could it be? And now here it is. Midnight says as the wheel lands on Cavalry battle. Let me explain. Participants will form your group of 2 to 4 members. The rules are no different from a regular cavalry battle. But there's one difference. According to the results of the last race, each player will be appointed a point. Yes, that's right. The assigned points go up by 5, starting at the bottom. 42nd place is 5 points, 41st is 10 points, and so forth. And the point assigned to the first place is 10 million. It's a survival game where inferiors overthrow the superiors. Midnight says as I smirk, this will be fun. I thought cavalry battles. Sorry everyone for being gone for so long. Izu POV recap in a stadium. Now, for the second event. Although I know what it is. What could it be? And now here it is. Midnight says as the wheel lands on cavalry battle. Let me explain. Participants will form your group of 2 to 4 members. The rules are no different from a regular cavalry battle. But there's one difference. According to the results of the last race, each player will be appointed a point. Yes, that's right. The assigned points go up by 5, starting at the bottom. 42nd place is 5 points, 41st is 10 points, and so forth. And the point assigned to the first place is 10 million. It's a survival game where inferiors overthrow the superiors. Midnight says as I smirk, this will be fun. I thought. End of recap. Now, I will explain the rules of the cavalry battle. Time limit is 15 minutes. Each team is worth the total of the members' points, and the rider will wear the headband with that point written on it. Grab each other's headbands and compete for the highest points. Stolen headbands must be worn from the neck up. The more you take, the more difficult it will be to maintain. The important part is, even if your headband is stolen or your team falls down, you're not disqualified. Midnight says, that means. Momo says, with 42 players there'll be 10 to 12 teams. All will be on the field the whole time. Sato says, getting your points be stolen to gain freedom could be a strategy. Mina says, it's hard to decide that until we see how the points will be divided up. Tsuyu says, it's a brutal game that allows you to use your quirks. But it's still a cavalry battle. A red card will be issued for attacks with evil intent. An immediate disqualification. You have 15 minutes to start negotiating your team members. Midnight says as a 15-minute timer appears on the hologram. With Baku as some of Class 1A surrounds Bakugo, team up with me. Sato says, Bakugo, team up with me. Mina begs, I don't know what your quirks are. What is it? Baku says, we're in your class. Mina says surprised, you're not paying attention at all. Sato says a little irritated. Hey, Todoroki created his team already. Bakugo, team up with me. Kiri says, crazy hair. Baku says, it's Kirishima. Remember that already. My hair's no different from yours. You're going to be the rider, right? The front horse who can withstand your explosion is right here. Kiri says as her hardens his arm, someone with guts. Baku says, not exactly, but yes. Me with my hardening quirk. I'm the sturdy horse. You're going to take the 10 million, right? Kiri says as Baku smirks. With Izuku while everyone talks, in my case, points don't really matter. Who I want to be on my team. That person. I thought as I sit down to concentrate on listening around, I wonder if Izuku will be available. A familiar voice, that's one. I wonder, I thought as I listen in to find Iida, I need to find a strong and intelligent team leader, probably Todoroki. I hear Iida basically saying I'm useless. I then lose concentration. I sigh. Izuku. I open my eyes to Mei. I say turning around, can I be on your team? I brought some of my babies for a test drive. Mei says, you know I can't say no to you. I chuckle, Izu. Uraraka says running to me from behind as I turn my head 180 degrees, surprising Uraraka, but she pushes the thoughts away. Can I please join your team? Uraraka asks if turn my head back to face Mei as she gives me a thumbs up. I look at Uraraka as I nod. Welcome to the team. I say, yay. Uraraka cheers. Before stopping, how are we supposed to carry you? No offense. Uraraka says, none taken, but don't worry, I have that covered. You two will be on my back, but we need more defense during this challenge. I might have an idea. I say, turning to look at a crow-headed boy. Monoma POV 10 minutes later, almost everyone here has their eyes on Class A. Why is that? And just as Tetsutetsu said, Class A is getting ahead of themselves. Isn't it weird? What's the difference between us? That they fought with villains. Why was Class B satisfied with the middle place ranking in the prelim? Everyone, let's show those cocky students in Class A the reason why. Monoma says to his classmates 5 minutes later. Izuku POV as a loud horn goes off signaling that time's up. Now, let's get started. Midnight says stretching her arms, wake up, eraser. After the 15 minutes of teaming up and creating a strategy, 12 cavalry teams are lined up on the field. Now, raise your battle cries. The UA's bloody battlefield is about to light the signal fire. PM yells as I carry my team like a 3-person horse while also wearing small gadgets connected. My 4 paws at the front is Tokoyami with Dark Shadow on the defensive. In the middle we have Mei in control of the gadgets on my feet, then we have Uraraka watching our back. 5 minutes before, I chose all of you, because I think this is the most stable group. Kaminari generates electricity on the left wing, and don't let the enemy come close. Yaoyorozu, on the right wing. Be the insulator, defense, and assist with movement. Iida, you're in front as the mobile power and physical defense. Todoroki says as I listen in with my enhanced hearing as May changes my gas canisters. That's about it, you have all canisters filled. May says as I continue to listen in on Todoroki's team, Todoroki, you'll attack with ice and fire as a diversion. Iida says, no, during a battle. I will never use my left. Todoroki says, staring angrily at pro-hero Endeavor on the stands. 5 minutes later the entire stadium cheers. Okay, all you first years. I hope you're happy with your chosen teams. Let's get this party started. One final countdown before the game starts. 3, 2, 1. PM yells, begin. Midnight yells as every team charges at us. It's basically one big battle for 10 million point dash. TT says, but I vanish as almost everyone's headbands are gone as I stand behind everyone, my tail hold most of their headbands, HEY. Hagakure yells in surprise. Todoroki notices BLD dripping down his forehead as he notices a large scratch across his headband. Dang it, I couldn't grab his band. I thought to himself as everyone runs at us again, his speed is incredible, but I don't think his team can handle that speed. After him. TT says, Jiro, now. Hagakure yells, I know. Jiro yells as her iPhone jacks go towards us, but Dark Shadow knocks them away. Stupid bird. Jiro says, good job. Please, continue to watch over our blind spots, Dark Shadow. Toko says, got it. Dark Shadow says, watching all around us, gas masks guys. I say as the three put their gas masks on as I send red smoke everywhere covering us as most start coughing. It's just normal gas, so it's not dangerous to anyone. I say hidden in the smoke. Wow. Barely 2 minutes have passed since we started, we currently can't see 1/4 of the first years. This sure is a crazy start. PM says, May, can you get us above the smoke? I ask, yes I can. May says before pressing a button as air jetpack lifts us above the smoke. Amazing, Izuku team is above the smoke. PM says as I hear an explosion which gives me PTSD as I turn my head to see Baku flying up to me. Don't think for a second that you're safe. Baku says before I know it my tail WHPS at his arm as I see I left a red mark, but he hides the pain and still goes after my headband. Yokoyami. I yell as my PTSD takes over as Dark Shadow blocks Baku explosion leaving DS in pain. What the hell's that? Bakugo has been separated for his horses. Is that even allowed? PM yells as Sero grab Baku with his tape. As expected, everyone's after the first place team, giving them no time to catch their breath. What a show this is. PM says as we see some pro heroes watching the TV in the break room. Wow, those 1A guys are pretty good. Death Arms says back with the teachers, at each team's points so far. It's been 7 minutes, so let's get those rankings thrown up on the screen. PM says but the screen shows something unbelievable. 5 to 12 teams have 0 points, other than Midoriya. Class 1A's not doing so hot. Even Bakugo is losing. PM says Monama is seen taking Bakugo's headband. Class A is so simple-minded. Monama says, wait. Give it back or I'll kill you. Baku yells in anger. Ever since Midnight mentioned the first game, we figured that they wouldn't cut too many people off in the qualifiers. We guessed about 40 would pass, so we made sure to rank in within that number. And from behind, we observed the quirks and personality of those who would become our rivals. There's no point in concentrating on winning only one race, right? Monama says. You did it as a class. Baku says, not everyone agreed, but it's a good strategy, no. Better than horse with a carrot in front of its face, taking a temporary spot on the top. Oh, and one more thing, you're famous, huh? Victim of the sludge villain incident. I want to hear about it sometime on how it feels to be attacked by a villain once a year. Monama says angering Bakugo. Kirishima change of plans. Before that cat, we're going to kill all these guys. Baku says an angry aura surrounding him sending shivers down everyone's spine especially me. Class B's strategy was long-term, giving up the win in the prelim. It's true, they leave a bigger impression by turning the table on Class A, who was a favorite before the festival began. But based on that train of thought, that means that I'm not their only target. I think it's going to be easier for us, I say as we land outside the smoke, but before we know it Todoroki's team comes out of the smoke with their own gas masks as we now stand off against them. We're now past the halfway point. PM yells. I take a deep breath before facing Todoroki with confidence. I guess it won't be that easy. I say, the cavalry battle is entering its second half. With the unexpected Demps by Class B, who will be the one to wear the 10 million around their neck. PM yells, I'm going to be take that Su dash. Tadu says, shut up. I say staring down him with my eye dots crimson red angry on how he can think he can do anything. Look at me, Bakugo X reader, God I'm finally finished, Izu POV at the sports festival, I thought we'd be settling this towards the end of the battle. He's favoring you, Izu. Toko says, we're past the halfway point. We better not stop moving. I say as we start to move, Iida, move forward. Tadu says, okay. Iida says before he starts running, Yaoyorozu, guard us and prepare transmission. Tadu says as Momo starts creating something from her body. I keep my eye on the surroundings before noticing several groups charging at us. I notice Kama charging up and Tadu covering the group in a blanket. I slash the ground throwing dust everywhere as Kama discharges his electricity to everyone, but the dust reduces the electricity, but Dark Shadow blocks the remaining electricity. Less than 6 minutes left. We're not turning back. Tadu says freezing a rock staff that Momo made freezing the other groups to the ground. Todoroki stopped all the cavalry at once. But wait, where's Izu? His team is gone. Present Mike says as the dust settles showing that I'm not with my group. Todoroki's team looks frantically, then Todoroki headband gets taken off from behind. Todoroki looks back but sees me running away. Tadu grumbles before he grabs the other team's headband. I'll take it just in case. Tadu says before charging at me, I'll restrain them. Toko says as Dark Shadow goes to attack but Momo creates a stone thing stopping Dark Shadow's attack before backing away. Yaoyorozu's creation is trouble. I say as we are still moving around away from Tadu, no more than her, it's Kaminari. If that level of armor was sunlight, Dark Shadow would have been ruined. Toko says flashback, I want you to devote yourself to defense. You don't have to attack, leave that to me. I say, interesting. My quirk strengthens its offensive power in the dark, but it becomes savage and hard to control. Under sunlight, it's easier to control, but its offensive power is below average. Without knowing that, you said that I don't have to attack. It's a unique decision, given our circumstances. Fine. Use me. It's all up to you, Izu. Toko says end of flashback, that's right. Kaminari's lightning. I say, as long as his electric discharge continues, it will be difficult to attack. Dark Shadow is starting to hesitate. Toko says, I'm against violence. Dark Shadow says whimpering before we have to stop because we're at the out of balance line. Team Izu has nowhere to go. MP yells, declining offensive power. They don't know about that, right? I say, probably not. I've only told Koda about this weakness at USJ. And he doesn't say much. Toko says, if they don't know, it'll work as a restraint. It's okay. No matter what, I will hold on to my 10 million, I say. With Bakugo, Monoma, don't irritate him too much. You'll be on the same level. Student 1 says, oh right, that's not very hero-like. Oh, and it's well known that those who incur one's hatred are retaliated against by a villain. Monoma says, please shut up Monoma, calm down, Bakugo. Unless you calm down, we can't regain our points. Kiri says, move forward, Kirishima. Right now, I'm very calm. Baku says, we're counting on you. Kiri says Kiri running at Monoma, die. Baku says throwing an explosion at Monoma but he dodges before Monoma throws his own explosion at his Baku, amazing. That's a great quirk. Monoma says before hitting Kiri head, that's my. Baku says, Bakugo, he has the same quirk as you. Kiri says before Baku throws another explosion at Monoma hitting him, really, that's a great quirk. Although, mine is better. Monoma says as his left arm hardens, blocking Baku's attack. What? He also has the same. Kiri says, no. He copied our quirks. Baku says, correct. Monoma says, Monoma Nito. Quirk is copy. After touching a quirk, he can freely use it for 5 min. He can't use 2 at once though. PM narrates, even an idiot can understand, right? For the love of God shut up, Monoma says before a 1B student attacks them with a white liquid. Bondo, you're coming after us. Monoma says, Monoma, we just need to keep running now. With our points, we'll be in the top 4, student 1, after them. Baku yells, wait, I can't move. Kiri says as his foot is stuck to the ground by the white liquid, wait, I'll melt it with my quirk. Mina says using her foot to melt the liquid, hurry, we're on 0 points. Sero says, don't be mad. You're the one who started this. Monoma says, Monoma you started this. Baku was thrown into this by you like firewood, number 1 not just any number 1. What I'm going to take is an undeniable first place. Baku says, 1 minute left. Todoroki has closed in the field so that he'd get that 10 million right away. Or so I thought 5 minutes ago. But Izuku has been running away in this small area and seems very irritating at Todoroki. PM says Todoroki's team tries to get closer but DS blocks him. I stay silent thinking of how stupid Todoroki is. No offense to Todoroki fans, he sees right through you, you idiot. Endeavor says as I hear him I look in his direction glaring at him surprising him and to do, he heard something from that old man but he's keeping his distance and stays on the left. She's observant. If I want to freeze them from here Iida would be in the way. With her movement, reckless freezing will only bring me down. Kaminari's electricity will be blocked by Tokoyami. 1 minute left this cat, Todoroki thought, everyone. Less than 1 minute left. After this, I will be useless. I'm counting on you. Iida says getting in a stance that gets my attention and I immediately know what he's planning. I then see the engine in his legs light blue, hold your ground I got this. I whisper to my group as they nod Iida then in a burst of speed he speeds to me as Todoroki goes to grab my headband but I wrap my tail around his waist holding him in the air. Nice try Todoroki but you don't think I know Iida was holding back his speed it was only a matter of time before he does that. I say squeezing my tail around him, what just happened? How fast was that? But Todoroki is off his group. Izuku is holding him in the air with his tail. PM says as To-Do tries to pry my tail off, if you do that you'll be disqualified for touching the ground without your team holding you. I say, offense and defense on the line. And in the end, Izuku wraps my tail Todoroki's waist while holding him above the ground. PM yells, Todoroki. Iida yells, Iida you think I'm not a strong and intelligent team leader. I say my face in a frown trying not to look at him as Iida eyes widen noticing his mistake To-Do goes to attack me with his fire but I grab his arm burning my palm a little Todoroki looks at his arm in anger and disgust with Bakugo, less than a minute left, Todoroki was captured by Izumi. Will the top 5 rankings stay the same? PM says, we're 3rd place, maybe we did too well. Well, let's keep our position. Monoma says, wait. Wait up. Baku yells, how persistent. Not just as a hero, but as a person. That clingy personality. Monoma says before Baku propelled himself at Monoma's team, stop that, Bakugo. Kira yells, Tsuburaba, guard. Monoma yells as Tsuburaba blows a barrier from his mouth stopping Baku. Tsuburaba Kisei quirk is solid air, it solidifies air into a wall or foothold. The size depends on lung capacity. PM narrates, it's an invisible wall, he says as Baku punches the air wall before breaking through it grabbing all but 1 headbands, he took 2 headbands. Tuzb says as Sero uses his tape to grab Baku, Team Bakugo takes 2 headbands and moves up to 3rd place. The rankings are changing this late in the game. It's youthful passion. PM says the other team's chasing Monoma Tsub trying his best to defend DMN. Monoma says, it's okay. We're still in 4th. Sub says, as long as I hang on to this one then I'll definitely. Monoma says, tell me before you fly off. Sero says, with this, we'll pass this round. Kira says, we're not finished. We're getting the undeniable first place. Baku yells, hitting Kira's head. Monoma, Class B's strategy was logical, and well planned. But one thing that's regrettable is. Aizawa thought, I couldn't hold out well on my own. Go. I'll take back our points as well, and go for the 10 million. Hey, Asian face, the tape. Baku says, lifting his leg, the name is Sero. Sero says, shooting his tape past Monoma, it missed. Monoma says, black eyes, use you dissolving liquid in this direction. Baku says as he lift his other leg, I'm a Shido Mina. Mina says, shooting acid at the ground in front of them, young Bakugo, I'm sure you know without having to be told there are those who always aim for the top and those who don't. That's the difference. AM thought as Baku propels his team on the acid as Sero's tape helps pull them in a straight line, you didn't take that difference into consideration. Aizawa thought Sub creates an air wall but Baku with the speed breaks the air wall with his explosion and takes Monoma's last headband. Bakugo is merciless. He's very thorough. He's what you call a perfectionist, huh? Not much time is left. PM says as Bakugo's team gets to third place next. On to Izumi and Todoroki. Baku says with Izumi and Tadu, I clenched Tadu's arm, my left. What was I doing? Tadu thought, the time is almost up. Start countdown. PM says, DMNU, cat. Baku says, propelling himself at me, I tossed Tadu back to his team before getting ready to attack Baku, time over. PM says as Baku face plants on the ground and Tadu crashes into his team, the second event, Cavalry battle, is finished. PM says, Bakugo. Sero says running over, are you okay? Kira asks but Baku starts hitting the ground in frustration. Let's take a look at the first four rankings. First place, Team Izu. PM yells as I drop everyone off my back before stretching like a cat. Second place, Team Todoroki. PM yells, although we won second, we were on thin ice. Momo says, I'm sorry. I've caused you all trouble and dash. Iida says, looking towards me, third place, Team Bakugo. PM yells, we were so close. Mina says, third place is good enough. The results aren't that good. Sero says, would he really agree with that? Kira says as Baku sits on the ground before screaming in anger, fourth place, Tetsu, oh what? Team Shinso. When did you make a comeback? PM says surprised as I glare at Shinso's arrogant face seeing he controlled Ojiro. I had decided that I wouldn't use it for an attack but I was overwhelmed. I can't. If this continues, I'll just do what my father wants. Tadu says as I listen and feeling sympathy for him, the afternoon event will resume in 1 hour, after lunch. Hey, Eraserhead, let's go for lunch. PM says with the class, I'm so vexed. Congratulations, Mina. Azui says, Bakugo only chose me to defend against Todoroki's ice attacks. I don't know if my ability is worth it. Mina says, Iida. It's not fair that you had a secret trick. Uraraka says, not fair. I just used it the wrong way. I just wanted to battle with Izu. But I ended up irritating him. Iida says, speaking of Izu, where is he? Uraraka says with me and Todoroki, what did you want to talk about? I say sitting my height still rivaling Todoroki. Excuse me. I want to withdraw. Ojiro says, I thought this might happen. I thought, the pros are going to be watching. Iida says, I barely have any memory of the cavalry battle until the very end. It was probably that guy's quirk. Ojiro says looking at a tired purple-haired boy I look in anger, my eyes turning red but Mei gets in front of me. Izu calm down, you'll get to fight him, just take a deep breath. Mei says, fine but I'll make him eat the concrete if we fight. I say sending a shiver down everyone's spine, thanks Izu, and I know that this is a big chance. I know it's foolish to throw this chance away. But this is where everyone has fought giving their all. I can't stand there while I don't know what happened. What's happening? Ojiro says, you're worrying too much. Just leave good results in the finals. Hagakure says, one of the best canon ships Ojiro and Hagakure, what you're saying applies to me as well. Mina says, no, this is about my pride. I can't do it. And why are you all dressed as cheerleaders? Ojiro says as the girls get embarrassed, yes, I skipped the scene. Of the girls in the cheerleading outfits I found it had to watch, I'm Shoten Arenjiki from Class B. I want to withdraw for the same reason. Despite our ability, if someone, who didn't do anything, is advanced, doesn't it defeat the whole point of the sports festival? Shota says as my claws dig in the ground I pure anger, what's up with them? They're so manly. Kira says shedding tears, something strange is happening. PM says, we'll have to see what the referee, Midnight, decides to do. Aizawa says, that kind of youthful talk is something that I like. I accept Shota and Ojiro's withdrawal. Midnight says, she chose by preference. Then the two participants to replace their spot will be from the 5th place Team Kendo. Midnight says, if that's the case, instead of us who barely moved during the cavalry battle it's them, right? Shouldn't it be Tetsutetsu who fought to keep their top spot until the end? Kendo says as her team nods in agreement, Kendo. Tetsu says surprised, it's nothing suspicious. This is how it should be. Kendo says, and so, Tetsutetsu and Shiozaki complete the 16 finalists. The pairing based on the lots looks like this. Midnight says, again. Why does this happen? Tetsu and Kira yell at each other seeing they have to fight each other, then it shows Toko versus Momo, I'm giving it my all. Toko said seriously. Just as I wish. Momo says nervously, then it says Ashido versus Aoyama, yeah, I'm not typing what he says, you meant lucky, right? Mina says I look at the scoreboard seeing me and Shinso fight first I smile, I'm going to break. I say looking in the direction of Shinso who is smiling in confidence, I'm going to show him something I can do, making him regret fighting me. I thought to myself, but if I win and Todoroki does too, I have to find a way to stop his emotional suffering. I say, you're Izu Ori, right? Shinso says, appearing behind me out of reflex, my tail grabs him by the neck, don't get near me. I say as I let go he coughs before immediately getting up with confidence. I'm looking forward to the first round, he says, if only you knew I could snap your neck in an instant even if it was just my tail. I thought to myself as I watched him walk away. It came earlier than expected. Come, Izu. I'll defeat you with these hands. Todoroki thought to himself, seeing he's facing Sero. What? Uraraka. Baku says while Uraraka freaks out behind him. Are you Iida? Mei asks walking up to Iida, yes, I am Iida. Iida says, I'm so glad. Actually. Mei says excited, let's put the tournament aside for now, so we can have a break. Let's have fun with the recreation. First up is the scavenger hunt. The PM yells as Sero, Sato, and Kami run up grabbing a card as the card that Sero picked up says, bag, can someone lend me a bag, please? Sero asks to the crowd. Sato got a card saying cat and Kami got notebook, cat. Who has a cat? Sato yells to the crowd, who has a textbook? Kami yells to the crowd. Mineta got back fat, yes it says that, Monama stands there watching, how pathetic. Everyone is giving their all even though it is recreation dash. Monama says before a rock flies at his head making him collapse as I chuckle before going to the waiting room, they want us to enjoy it, while those in the tournament can't. Some plan strategies against the opponents, some work to keep their composure, some prepare for the battle, some sharpen their senses, and some try to calm their nerves. With our own thoughts to ourselves, the time passed by quickly. I thought to myself as I lay next to Mei leg resting. Hey guys, are you ready? There are a lot of events, but it comes down to this. The final battle. You can only rely on yourself. There are situations like this even if you're not a hero. You know it, right? Heart, technique, body, wisdom and knowledge. Utilize them all to rise to the top. PM says as I stand in the hall, "Hey Izu." Mei says as I turn around, "Mei, is something wrong?" I said, "I'm just a little worried." Mei says as I walk up, rubbing my head to her, making her laugh, "Stop, that tickles," she says, pushing me away. There's the smile I wanted to see. I say, all right, just be careful." Mei says, "I will," I say. Hey everyone, the anticipated final event is finally about to begin. The first round. He got first place in 2 events, just keep a close eye on him or you'll miss it. Ori Izu from the hero course, versus Sari, he hasn't had any notable results, Shinso Hitoshi from the ordinary course. The rules are simple. Either throw them out of bounds or paralyze them. It's also your win if you make the opponent say, "I give up, don't worry about injuries. Our recover girl is here standing by." Throw your morals and ethics aside for a moment. But life-threatening attacks are for scums. You'll be disqualified. A hero uses their fists to fight with villains. PM yells, "I give up, huh?" This fight tests the strength of mind. If you have a future you're set on, you can't care about appearances. That girl sure loves a fraud. But don't you think it's stupid to throw away this chance dash? Shinso says before noticing my paw inches from his face before he gets slapped back a few feet. What? Shinso's was slapped to the ground. PM says as everyone stares in shock. Victory or defeat Izu POV at the UA Sports Stadium, what? Shinso was slapped to the ground. As I said, don't blink while watching this. PM says as everyone stares in shock. Shinso gets up, holding his cheek. Why won't you speak? Shinso yells as I unzip my chest, showing my voice box turned off. For those who are wondering, Izu's voice box is just an organ that does the transformation at the beginning of the story so Izu can get paralyzed by Shinso's quirk. Shinso Hitoshi from the ordinary course can't use his quirk. BC Ori Izu turned off his voice box. This is an unexpected situation. Will he be overthrown? PM yells, "That's why I said the entrance exam was unreasonable." Here's some data on both of them. It's an individual event, so I had it prepared. Shinso failed the hero course practical exam. He must have expected that since he also applied for the ordinary course. His quirk is strong, but the entrance exam was against robot villains. It's advantageous for students with strong physical quirks. With this quirk, he wasn't able to gain points. But Izu has an unknown origin. The only known thing about him is that he is dating the support course student Hatsume. Aizawa says, looking at the documents, "Shinso, you are so lucky to be blessed with a strong quirk," Shinso yells as I walk towards him. Gas comes out of my mouth, engulfing the arena in red smoke. What the? Shinso looks around and sees a pair of glowing red eyes before they disappear. What? Izu covered the arena in red smoke. What's happening there? PM yells as Shinso looks around in fear before seeing me coming out of the smoke in a demonic form of a tall, sickly gray complexion. A skeletal version of me portrays a significant increase in skeletal features. My legs resemble bare bones, lacking any semblance of flesh or fur. The paws, in particular, are utterly skeletal with elongated bone-like fingers. The most dramatic part of the transformation can be seen in my mouth, which has elongated to an alarming extent, surpassing the length of my torso. On the other hand, my torso displays an unexpected resemblance to a stegosaurus, with ridges and plates adorning my back. As everyone outside the gas, they hear a horrified scream as a shiver goes down. Everyone's spines are scared of what's in the gas. Mei smirked, knowing what I looked like. Mei POV flashback: one night, I was going to get a snack, leaving Izu in the room, but I didn't expect the room to be filled with red gas when I came back. I walked in with a towel to my mouth, and I heard something drop behind me before I looked up to see Izu in that monstrous form. "Mei, what's wrong?" Izu says as I notice his chest leaking gas. I unzip his chest, seeing his fear canister fall out of its socket. After about an hour of getting all the gas out of the room and fixing the canister, we both went to bed. Izuku convinced me to join him as he used his lavender-scented gas to calm me. Izuku POV end of flashback as I walk over to him, my creepy face in front of his scared face before I punch him in the gut, sending him flying out of the gas and out of bounds. As he lies on the ground gasping for air from the gut punch, the gas disappears, showing my standard form again. Shinso is out of bounds. Izuku advances to the second round. Midnight says as the crowd cheers. In the last event, the one who advances to the sound round is Class A Izuku Ori. PM says, that was cool but creepy. Uraraka says, that's my Izuku. Mei says, surprising the class, oh yeah, you're dating him. Do you know what Shinso saw? Iida asks, yes, I have, and it is an unpleasant sight, and if he could, he would snap Shinso's neck for talking about me badly. Mei says as everyone swallows hard except Bakugo, who seems eager to fight me. That was pretty cool but a little bland for the first round, but let's praise them for their fight. Clap your hands. PM says as the crowd starts clapping. Shinso, why do you want to be a hero? I ask, but he turns away from me. You can't help what your heart longs for. Shinso says before walking away, that feeling is the same as mine before I became this. But no matter what I say right now. I thought as Shinso was about to walk into the tunnel, nice try, Shinso. Student 1 says from the stands, we know you tried. Student 2 says, you can always improve. Student 1 says, you're the star of the ordinary course. You did what you could against the first place obstacle and cavalry event winner. Student 3 says, and, Student 1 says, pointing to a pro behind him, even though we didn't see much, that Quirk is useful for fighting against the villains. I want it. The pro says, UA is so stupid. That's in the ordinary course. Pro/Mrs. Joke says, there are so many applicants that I'm sure it can't be helped. Another pro says, do you hear that, Shinso? You're amazing. Student 1 says, depending on the results, they'll consider a transfer to the hero course. Remember that. Even if I fail this time, I won't give up. I'll get into the hero course and get a license. I'll become a greater hero than any of you. Shinso says, I hope to. I say but freeze, he got me. The fight ended, so why is he? I thought, people usually have their defense up when they talk to me. Keep that up, and you'll get the carpet pulled from under you. Make sure you don't lose in a shameful way. Shinso says. I smirked as I regained control of my body before walking away. Todoroki POV in the stadium halls, Izuku 1. I thought before turning a corner but stopped. You're in my way. I say, you're full of disgrace, Shoto. If you had used your left power, you would have dominated the obstacle race and the cavalry battle. Stop your childish rebellion already. It would be best if you surpassed All Might. Do you understand? Unlike your brothers, you're a masterpiece, Endeavor says as I walk by, anger building in my body. Is that all you can say? I'll win using only my mother's power. I'll never use your power in a fight. I say, walking away. Even if that works now, you'll soon reach the limit, Endeavor says, but they don't know a figure in the shadows watching them with their anger building. Izuku POV at the Class 1A stands, Izuku. Mei says, tackling me and making me crash into the ground. Mei snuggles into my fur. I give a small kiss on the head. What are you doing here? Why aren't you at the support course stands? I say, I'm just coming to watch with you, and it's nice to meet your friends. Mei says cheerfully as I try to get up. She hugs me around my neck. As I walk over to Iida and Uraraka, I grab Mei by the back of her shirt collar, take her off my chest, and place her on the chair as I sit on the floor due to my size. Fire rages from the corner of the ring. Thanks for waiting. The next fight is between these two. PM yells as the large screen says, Todoroki Shoto vs Sero Hanta. He's capable, but why can't he escape his blandness? Sero Hanta from the hero course. PM yells, how mean. Sero says, popping his hands, I don't know how to explain what he is doing, in second place for the first two events. His recommendation for admission was no joke. Todoroki Shoto is also from the hero course. The second match in the final event. Ready. PM yells, I don't think I can win, but, Sero says, start. PM yells, but I don't plan on losing either. Sero says, shooting tape from his elbows as it wraps around Todoroki as he tries to swing Todoroki out of bounds, a surprise attack that takes him out of bounds. This might be the best strategy. Get him, Sero. PM yells, sorry. Todoroki says as he sends ice from his feet straight into Sero, and a loud crash shakes the entire stadium. Everyone stares in fear of the colossal ice wall, even over the stadium walls. Class 1A turns their head to see an ice spike piercing my neck. Class 1A goes pale, but as they thought I died, I grab the ice spikes, and breaking off, I pull it out to show Cotton instead of BLD, May, get the sewing kit, I say calmly as May nods before digging her large back. She brought, how? Uraraka asks, still frightened, his body consists of 90% cotton. May says as she starts sewing the hole in my neck. I watch Todoroki break the frozen tape, this is a bit much. Sero says frozen solid. Sero, can you move? Midnight says, half her body frozen, of course I can't. It hurts. Sero says, Sero is paralyzed. Todoroki advances to the second stage. Midnight says as Todoroki walks over to Sero, putting his left hand on Sero's chest. I'm sorry. I went too far. I was irritated. Todoroki says. Todoroki uses his left hand to melt the ice he created. For some reason, that I only know. He looks very sad. I narrate battle on, challenger sorry for taking so long everyone Izuku POV in the stadium everyone, thanks for waiting. The stage that was iced during the second match is now dry and ready, PM says as fire lights up each corner of the ring, the assassin from Class B, appealing things come with thorns. Shiozaki Ibara from the hero course versus the sparking killer boy, Kaminari Genki from the hero course, PM says as the crowd cheers, now. We're expecting another flashing battle dash, PM yells before Shozi interrupts, may I please interrupt? What do you mean by an assassin? I came this far aiming for victory, not to take the lives of my opponents. Shozi says, I'm sorry. PM says, first of all, the reason why I wanted to enter UA is not for evil intentions, but because I want to bring relief to the people. Shozi says, yeah, so I'm sorry. It was my fault. PM says, thank you for understanding. Shozi says, there are girls like this in Class B, huh? She has big eyes and a pretty face, but it seems like she's really strong. I have to discharge all the electricity I've got. Not only is she pretty, but she's also cute. We'll have to go out sometime. All right. Kami thought anyways, let's start. PM yells, how about we go out to eat after this? I can comfort you. BC this match. We'll be over in a second, Kami says surprising Shozi before his body gets surrounded by electricity, he's going to short-circuit his brain. I am annoyed watching from the stands, indiscriminate discharge 13 million volts. Kami yells sending electricity straight towards her but she turns around as a wall of vines blocks the electricity. Denki's brain short-circuits before vines come out of the ground wrapping Denki up and suspending him in the air. Instant defeat. Let me say it again. Instant defeat. PM yells, Shiozaki advances to the second round. Midnight says, I didn't waste this chance that I have been given. Shiozaki Ibara. Quirk is vines. The vines on her head extend. They can be detached as well. They grow back immediately with the intake of water and sunlight. She'll never be bald. PM narrates, all right. Good job, Shiozaki. TT says, oh, boy. Jiro says, what happened? I thought he'd end it in a second. How strange. He was dash. Monama says before my tail wraps around his neck choking him. I look at him in disgust. Babe, calm down. Mei says patting me to stop. Before I release him, make him drop to the ground behind the wall. I then see an orange-haired girl look over the wall. Sorry about him, I'll make sure to punish him, she says as she gets off the wall. Before hearing a whack from behind the wall I smirk. I sat there irritated. Thanks for defending him. Uraraka says I sit there watching as Kami gets sent into the hall. Izu, you've been amazing ever since I saw you at USJ, but this sports festival reminds me how powerful and protective you are. Uraraka says as I smirk before I feel a ray of sunshine next to me. Mei, I say, going back to my grumpy face, but I get a kiss on my cheek before seeing Mei run off. I guess it's her turn. I thought to myself 5 minutes later, now, it's the 4th match. We'll keep on going. Aim for the top and rise above. He's like the backbone, Iida Tenya from the hero course, versus the one fully equipped with support items, Hatsume from the support course. PM says, Iida's opponent is Izu GF. Jiro says, what kind of fight will it be? Tsu says, but what is that? Iida is also equipped with a support item. Sato says as Iida buckles on something, those are generally not allowed for the hero course. Those who need one must request it beforehand. Midnight says confused, I had forgotten. Aoyama had a belt so I thought it was okay. Iida says flustered, he had filled in a request. Midnight says, I'm very sorry. But I was moved by her sportsmanship. She said that since we both come this far, we were both equally matched. She wanted a fair match, so she handed me an item. I didn't think I should refuse such a strong spirit. Iida says, such youthful passion. I permit you. Midnight says, this isn't going to end well. I sigh, what do you mean? Kiri says, it's difficult to explain that she doesn't just give people her inventions without a reason. I say, since he has permission, let's start the 4th match. PM says as Iida runs at Mei, you have such wonderful acceleration, Iida. Mei says with a mic, what? PM says, confused, she has speakers on. Aizawa says, don't your legs feel lighter? Of course, they do. That machine is supporting the user's movement, Mei says, that's what saw her working on that one night. I thought flashback. I walk up to her as she sleeps on the desk. I use my tail to lift her from the chair before my eyes see an unfinished invitation, but I brush it off before laying on my bed and laying her next to me. End of flashback. As for me, my hydraulic attachment bar makes evasion so easy, Mei says, propelling herself with 2 long metal bars from the machines on her waist. As I see her eyes look up at the top stands, I look up to see she's looking at the support stands. Oh, I see, she's showing her inventions to the support internship. This is why I love her, she knows what she wants before many things. I thought to myself, Hatsume. Quirk zoom. She can see things that are 5 kilometers away. PM narrates Iida still charges at her, but her invention on her waist sends her up away from Iida's charge, the bar tripping him again. There's a sensor in every direction so I can handle attacks from the rear. Mei says as Iida almost falls and the invention lets off steam, letting him make a U-turn towards Mei again. What are you doing? Iida says confused, Iida, what an appealing turnaround. That's made possible thanks to the auto balancers that I made. Mei says, what is this? PM says, she's set on selling her products. Aizawa says annoyed, there are no problems with time lag. The auto balancer has a 32-axis gyro sensor. It prevents the user from falling by accident. Mei says as I stare in disbelief, she just wants to sell her inventions. I should have seen this coming. I thought to myself, didn't you want a fair fight? Iida says confused before her boots send her flying above. Iida, what do you think of this likeness? The Electro shoes have electromagnetic induction on both feet, making it possible to make quick evasive moves. Mei says as Iida's engine gives him a boost of speed, I'll aim for her landing. Iida says, but as Mei lands she pulls out a small gun. It fires a net encasing Iida. What is this? Iida says tangled in a net, it's an arrest gun to use on villains. The nets are made from cartridges and you can fire up to 5 times in one discharge. The one who has invented the items is me, Hatsume. All the support companies, I hope to hear from you soon. Now on to the explanation for the next support item. Mei says 10 minutes later after finishing she now stands outside of the line, Hatsume, you're out of bounds. Iida, you advance to the second round. Midnight says, you tricked me. Iida yells, sorry. I took advantage of you. Mei says as I chuckle, while explaining her invention she slowly moves towards the line. I say as Uraraka walks away, now we'll go straight to the 5th match. That belt isn't meant for transforming. Aoyama Yugo from the hero course versus does something come out of those horns. Ashido Mina from the hero course. PM says at the 1A stands, you know you can't just do that but since it's you I might as well just let it slide but please for the love of God please don't do that again. I said before, Aoyama is unconscious. Ashido advances to the second round. Midnight says, how long was I talking? I ask, don't worry Mina easily knocks out Aoyama, you didn't miss anything. Sato says, Aoyama is knocked out. It's Ashido's indisputable, easy victory. Without a moment to lose, let's move on to the 6th match. Offense and defense in 1. The Dark Samurai with a Dark Shadow, Tokoyami Fumikage from the hero course, versus the versatile creation. With a recommended admission her ability is guaranteed. Yayorozu Momo from the hero course. PM says, what do you think of this match, Izu? Ojiro asks me, I think timing is key. I say, timing. Ojiro says confused, just as Present Mike said, my opponent has Dark Shadow who works as offense and defense. Not only that, he can bring out Dark Shadows without a time lag, so there's no doubt of a preemptive attack. If I can quickly create a simple shield, block Tokoyami's attack, and make time to create a weapon, Momo thought to herself, the 6th match. Start. PM says, go, Dark Shadow. Tokoyami says, Roger. We'll have to go out sometime. Alright. Kami thought anyways, let's start. PM yells, how about we go out to eat after this? I can comfort you. BC this match. We'll be over in a second, Kami says surprising Shozi before his body gets surrounded by electricity, he's going to short-circuit his brain. I am annoyed watching from the stands, indiscriminate discharge 13 million volts. Kami yells sending electricity straight towards her but she turns around as a wall of vines blocks the electricity. Denki's brain short-circuits before vines come out of the ground wrapping Denki up and suspending him in the air. Instant defeat. Let me say it again. Instant defeat. PM yells, Shiozaki advances to the second round. Midnight says, I didn't waste this chance that I have been given. Shiozaki Ibara. Quirk is vines. The vines on her head extend. They can be detached as well. They grow back immediately with the intake of water and sunlight. She'll never be bald. PM narrates, all right. Good job, Shiozaki. TT says, oh, boy. Jiro says, what happened? I thought he'd end it in a second. How strange. He was dash. Monama says before my tail wraps around his neck choking him I look at him in disgust, babe calm down. Mei says patting me to stop. Before I release him, make him drop to the ground behind the wall. I then see an orange-haired girl look over the wall, sorry about him I'll make sure to punish him, she says as she gets off the wall before hearing a whack from behind the wall I smirk I sat there irritated, thanks for defending him. Uraraka says I sit there watching as Kami gets sent into the hall, Izu you've been amazing ever since I saw you at USJ but this sports festival reminds me how powerful and protective you are. Uraraka says as I smirk before I feel a ray of sunshine next to me, Mei, I say going back to my grumpy face but I get a kiss on my cheek before seeing Mei run off, I guess it's her turn. I thought to myself 5 minutes later, now, it's the 4th match. We'll keep on going. Aim for the top and rise above. He's like the backbone, Iida Tenya from the hero course, versus the one fully equipped with support items, Hatsume from the support course. PM says, Iida's opponent is Izuku GF. Jiro says, what kind of fight will it be? Tsu says, but what is that? Iida is also equipped with a support item. Sato says as Iida buckles on something, those are generally not allowed for the hero course. Those who need one must request it beforehand. Midnight says confused, I had forgotten. Aoyama had a belt so I thought it was okay. Iida says flustered, he had filled in a request. Midnight says, I'm very sorry. But I was moved by her sportsmanship. She said that since we both come this far, we were both equally matched. She wanted a fair match, so she handed me an item. I didn't think I should refuse such a strong spirit. Iida says, such youthful passion. I permit you. Midnight says, this isn't going to end well. I sigh, what do you mean? Kiri says, it's difficult to explain that she doesn't just give people her inventions without a reason. I say, since he has permission, let's start the fourth match. PM says as Iida runs at Mei, you have such wonderful acceleration, Iida. Mei says with a mic, what? PM says, confused, she has speakers on. Aizawa says, don't your legs feel lighter? Of course, they do. That machine is supporting the user's movement, Mei says, that's what saw her working on that one night. I thought flashback I walk up to her as she sleeps on the desk. I use my tail to lift her from the chair before my eyes see an unfinished invitation but I brush it off before laying on my bed and laying her next to me. End of flashback. As for me, my hydraulic attachment bar makes evasion so easy, Mei says propelling herself with two long metal bars from the machines on her waist as I see her eyes look up at the top stands. I look up to see she's looking at the support stands. Oh, I see she's showing her inventions to the support internship. This is why I love her, she knows what she wants before many things. I thought to myself, Hatsume. Quirk zoom. She can see things that are 5 kilometers away. PM narrates Iida still charges at her but her invention on her waist sends her up away from Iida's charge, the bar tripping him again. There's a sensor in every direction so I can handle attacks from the rear. Mei says as Iida almost falls and the invention lets off steam letting him make a U-turn towards Mei again, what are you doing? Iida says confused, Iida, what an appealing turnaround. That's made possible thanks to the auto balancers that I made. Mei says, what is this? PM says, she's set on selling her products. Aizawa says annoyed, there are no problems with time lag. The auto balancer has a 32-axis gyro sensor. It prevents the user from falling by accident. Mei says as I stare in disbelief, she just wants to sell her inventions. I should have seen this coming. I thought to myself, didn't you want a fair fight? Iida says confused before her boots send her flying above. Iida, what do you think of this likeness? The electro shoes have electromagnetic induction on both feet, making it possible to make quick evasive moves. Mei says as Iida's engine gives him a boost of speed, I'll aim for her landing. Iida says but as Mei lands she pulls out a small gun. It fires a net encasing Iida. What is this? Iida says tangled in a net, it's an arrest gun to use on villains. The nets are made from cartridges and you can fire up to 5 times in one discharge. The one who has invented the items is me, Hatsume. All the support companies, I hope to hear from you soon. Now on to the explanation for the next support item. Mei says 10 minutes later after finishing she now stands outside of the line, Hatsume, you're out of bounds. Iida, you advance to the second round. Midnight says, you tricked me. Iida yells, sorry. I took advantage of you. Mei says as I chuckle, while explaining her invention she slowly moves towards the line. I say as Uraraka walks away, now we'll go straight to the 5th match. That belt isn't meant for transforming. Aoyama Yugo from the hero course versus does something come out of those horns. Ashido Mina from the hero course. PM says at the 1A stands, you know you can't just do that but since it's you I might as well just let it slide but please for the love of God please don't do that again. I said before, Aoyama is unconscious. Ashido advances to the second round. Midnight says, how long was I talking? I ask, don't worry, Mina easily knocks out Aoyama, you didn't miss anything. Sato says, Aoyama is knocked out. It's Ashido's indisputable, easy victory. Without a moment to lose, let's move on to the sixth match. Offense and defense in one. The Dark Samurai with a Dark Shadow, Tokoyami Fumikage from the Hero Course, versus the Versatile Creation. With a recommended admission, her ability is guaranteed. Yayorozu Momo from the Hero Course. PM says, what do you think of this match, Izu? Ojiro asks me, I think timing is key. I say, timing. Ojiro says confused, just as Present Mike said, my opponent has Dark Shadow who works as offense and defense. Not only that, he can bring out Dark Shadows without a time lag, so there's no doubt of a preemptive attack. If I can quickly create a simple shield, block Tokoyami's attack, and make time to create a weapon, Momo thought to herself, the sixth match. Start. PM says, go, Dark Shadow. Tokoyami says, Roger. DS says coming out of Toko's body as Momo creates a shield blocking DS's attack, then Momo tries to create a weapon but DS attacks again and again, knocking Momo's shield off her arm before she creates another blocking DS again the attack and sending her back. She tries to create a weapon but, Yayorozu. Out of bounds. Tokoyami advances to the next round. Midnight says as Momo notices her foot out of bounds as DS retracts back into Toko as he bows a little, a complete victory. Undeniably so. PM says as I sit at the stands, you say it too right. Mei asks me, yes, she was overthinking before the battle started. Unlike Principal Nizu, she thinks too slowly that she can't finish her strategy, but as most pro heroes start a fight with a villain they don't have time to think that will be her downfall. I say, will you stop talking, you remind me, never mind. Baku says, his face showing sadness, I was the only one to notice. The seventh match is against two similar quirks. Masculine Man of Guts and Steel, Tetsutetsu from the Hero Course versus the Masculine Man of Guts and Hardening, Kirishima Ejiro from the Hero Course. The manly seventh match will now start. PM says as the two charge at each other before their fists clash. Players waiting room 2 as Iida opens the door, good job, Iida. Uraraka says waiting for Iida with an angry face, Uraraka, what's wrong with you? Your brows are wrinkled. Iida says scared, my brows. Oh, I'm a little nervous. It affects my brows, Uraraka says, oh, right, your opponent is Bakugo, huh? Iida asks, I'm so scared. But when I saw you fight, Iida, Uraraka says, Uraraka. I say walking in, Izu. You're not watching the match. Uraraka says, do you think a fight between durability is fun to watch? It's interesting but they are doing zero damage to each other. I say, then the next match is coming up, Uraraka says looking back down at the table, well. Even if it's Bakugo, he wouldn't cause an all-out explosion against a girl. Iida says, he will, everyone is aiming to be number one for their dreams. Even if it's Bakugo, no one would hold back. I haven't been saved for most of my life. But you have tried to help me from the moment I joined. That's why I wanted to be of help to you, I say, unzipping my chest and pulling out a burnt notebook, a strategy for using your quirk to win against Bakugo. I've been analyzing everyone in class, but don't tell anyone about this notebook, especially Bakugo. I say, holding out my notebook. We promise, but good for you, Uraraka. Iida says, thanks, Izu. But no thanks. You're amazing, Izu. During the cavalry battle, I thought it'd be better to team up with a friend, but now that I think about it, I think I was just trying to rely on you. That's why I won't take that. Everyone is working towards their future. That means everyone is our rival. And so let's meet at the final round, Uraraka says, giving a thumbs up to me. In the stadium, after what looked like they were fighting forever, they finally land a blow to each other, knocking themselves out of the similar quirk duo, Tetsutetsu versus Kirishima. A head-to-head fistfight. The winner is, PM says as Midnight looks at their beat-up bodies, they're both down. It's a draw. In case of a draw, a winner will be decided by a simple match of arm wrestling, Midnight says, their abilities are equally matched. Pro 1 says, I like passionate ones like that. They boost morale. I want a sidekick like that, Pro 2 says, while TT and Kiri are recovering, we'll start the next match. PM says as the two are rolled away, the next one is the most disquieting pair. Sue says, I don't want to watch this. Jiro says nervously rubbing her arms as I sit with my class watching intensely as Uraraka walks towards the fighting ring, sorry if that's not what it's called, but I feel someone's hand touch my paw. I turn to see May also looking at Uraraka, the 8th and last match of the first round. He's been famous since middle school, that's not a respectable look. Bakugo Katsuki from the hero course versus I want to root for her Uraraka Ochako from the hero course. The 8th match. Start. PM yells Bakugo versus Uraraka. I look at Baku knowing he's wondering why she isn't defeated, maybe soon. Thank you, Bakugo, for not letting your guard down. Uraraka says as she is about to put her fingers together. I look up, making myself smirk as I see debris floating high above the stadium. I will win, she yells putting her fingers together and making the debris fall, a meteor shower. PM says, you didn't notice. Aizawa says Uraraka then starts running at Baku. With this much debris, whether he evades it or attacks it, there will be an opening. In that instant, I will close in on him. I'll win. I'll win and I'll be like everyone else. Uraraka thought as Baku lifted his hands in the air before he fired a massive explosion in the sky and the debris destroyed or knocked away the debris as well, sending Uraraka flying back. Since you're hanging out with that cat, I knew you had something planned, Baku says, with one move. Uraraka says with fear of Baku's overwhelming power, Bakugo. That was a satisfying blast. He proudly breaks through Uraraka's secret strategy. PM says as I notice Baku's hand strain from the blast, which surprised me. BC he never showed this reaction when he bullied me, that was the best I can do. It didn't work on him. But still, Uraraka thought as she stood up, good. The real fight starts here, Uraraka. Baku yells, if it were Izu he would run straight towards the enemy like at the USJ. Uraraka thought before she collapsed from exhaustion. Uraraka has fallen. PM says, my body won't move. Uraraka says, she's past her limit. I say hoping she could do more, but her body is shutting down from exhaustion. May says laying her head on my fluffy arm, I can still. Uraraka says as Baku gets in a fighting stance just in case. Flashback, when I grow up, I want to help dad and mom. Little Uraraka says, thanks for that thought, Ochako. But as a parent, we'd be much happier if you would pursue your dream. Then we can have Ochako take us to Hawaii. Uraraka dad says end of flashback, I can become a hero dad, Uraraka says before passing out as Midnight walks up. Uraraka is incapacitated. Bakugo advances to the second round. Midnight says as the crowd cheers, take her to the recovery girl. Midnight says as robots roll away with Uraraka, the 8th match of the first round, Uraraka. Oh, yeah. Bakugo advances. PM says a little upset, do it properly. Aizawa says, now let's gather ourselves together. The first round is finished. After a short break, we're on to the next round. PM says in the halls. I walk in the halls a little down as I remember the words she said at the end of our last conversation, let's meet in the final round. I thought before turning my head to see Baku, what are you looking at? Die, you some. Baku says as all I can pay attention to is the bags under his eyes, but I just walk away. That was your plan, right? That's stupid, risky strategy. You're being a nuisance. Baku says before I wrap my tail around his neck, lifting him not enough to choke him. He tries to use his explosion to get me to let go, but I tighten a little. I pull him to me, making us look face to face. Everything was planned out by Uraraka, to defeat you. Don't you dare think she isn't smart. I say before dropping him, think wisely about who you bully. You wouldn't want the same thing to happen. I say before the lights turn off and turn back on, showing I'm not in the hall. Leaving Baku starting to have a panic attack as he tries to calm down back at the stadium. Bakugo. That must have been hard to play the dash, Sero says, but notices he looks traumatized. Lucky only Sero and Kami saw before Baku glares at me before sitting down. In room 2, yeah, I lost. I was overconfident because I thought I could get him. Damn it. Uraraka says with a smile, Uraraka, I thought your body shut down from exhaustion. I say, I'm good. Thanks to the recovery girl. It's a moderate recovery to maintain stamina, so I'm only left with scratches. But man, Bakugo is so strong. I had no chances against him. I need to work harder. But I'm okay. I'm surprisingly okay. Izu, that day you appeared in the USJ you looked ahead of everything and I can't be down just BC I lost. Uraraka says before we hear PM at the stadium, the 7th match ended in a draw. What will be the result between Kirishima and Tetsutetsu's arm wrestling match? This will be the decider as to who advances. PM says, I swear I can hear a crack and slam even though I'm in the building. The winner is Kirishima. He advances to the second round. Midnight says as everyone, especially Kiri, cheers, the one who won the ticket is Kirishima. PM says, ack my metal fatigue, I should have taken more iron. TT says on the ground gripping his arm, it was a good fight. Kiri says holding out his hand before TT takes his hand, now, we have everyone we need for the second round. Alright, so let's get started. PM says room 2, already. I say before stretching like a cat before I start walking to the door, I'll be watching you. Do your best, she says, giving me a reassuring smile before I walk out. With a smile I stop to listen to Uraraka knowing she's not okay. I then hear a phone open. Sorry I missed your call, Dad, she says. No, I'm sorry for calling when you must be busy. Mom and I were watching on TV, that was so close. But you were amazing, her dad says. It wasn't close. And I'm not amazing either. I rushed too much at the end. I didn't have a strategy planned after that. A complete defeat. I see, she says, making me feel envious of her. I don't know all the details, but this loss isn't the end of the road, right? You still have next year, her dad says. If we continue to win, you can showcase your versatile abilities. The scout can't see anything with just one match, she says. Why are you in a rush, her dad says. Because I want to help you guys, she says. Ochako, you don't have to rush. BC, I know that a girl with a big heart like you will be a great hero, her dad says before tears start falling down her face. I walk away from the door knowing she'll get through this. So Canon CatNap is 12 feet, but in this, he's 9 feet and Endeavor is 6 feet 5 inches. Just to inform everyone, before I know it I run into Endeavor. He's surprisingly small from my POV. Oh, there you are, Endeavor says looking up at me. May I ask why you're roaming the halls? I say trying not to kill him. I've seen your success. That's an interesting quirk. A body invulnerable to many attacks and the control of fear gas. And your speed rivals All Might, Endeavor says. What are you trying to say, B dash? I say trying not to cuss at him, but I walk past him. Does he match my speed to AM? I thought to myself, my Shoto must surpass AM. This match with you will be useful as a testing ground. Make sure you don't put on a disgraceful match. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry I held you up. Endeavor says before walking away. Hey shitface. He isn't your tool to surpass AM, and he isn't you, either. I say before walking away. At the stadium, the match hasn't started yet. I have to watch. Uraraka says as circles surround her eyes. Are your eyes injured? Go to recovery girl. Iida says worried. I already did. This is different. Uraraka says sitting between Iida and Toko as well as Mei working on something in the corner of the 1A stands. It's different. Aside from that, that was a tough match. Iida says, instead, regard it as a good experience. Toko says, thanks for waiting, everyone. The first match of the second round is a big one. During the first round, this man froze the crowd with his victory. Todoroki Shoto, from the hero course. And the boy with a scary quirk mixed with his speed from the first round. Ori Izu from the hero course. PM says as the crowd cheers, you came. Todoroki says as I stare at him, you don't scare me, Todoroki. I said, Tokoyami, what do you think of the match? Iida asks, it depends if Izuku is faster than Todoroki Ice. Toko says, I heard that the cat jumped into action to save you. As well as the other boy. 13 says, it's just a feeling, but the two of them share something similar. AM says, they both stand at the top during this year's sports festival. It's a match between two great fighters. Now, it's Ori versus Todoroki. Start. PM yells Todoroki versus Izuku POV, my dad is Endeavor. He has always been the number 2 hero, Todoroki says. My Shoto has the responsibility to surpass All Might. Endeavor says. If you have some relation to the number 1 hero, I have to win against you all the more. In my memory, my mother was always crying. My mother poured boiling water on me, saying, your left side is unsightly. Without my DMN father's quirk, no, by becoming the number 1 without using it, I will completely deny him. No matter what you are to All Might, I'll rise above you, using only my right side. Todoroki says, but I can't lose either, so I can give back to those who care about me. I will beat you. Todoroki POV flashback, but you want to be a hero, right? You can become one, my mother says, stroking my hair while I cry. Before I knew it, I had forgotten what happened after that. I say Izuku POV end of flashback, the first match of the second round. They both stand at the top of this year's sports festival. Ori, PM yells, he'll start attacking with ice. I thought to myself, versus Todoroki. PM yells, it's too dangerous to let him freely use his speed. Todoroki thought to himself, it's a match between two great fighters. PM says, the moment it starts, and Todoroki thinks, start. PM yells, attack. Todoroki thought before creating ice heading straight for me, but I jumped over it, falling toward Todoroki before smashing to the ground. Todoroki dodged, sending a kick to his stomach and pushing him back as Todoroki created ice behind him, slowing him from going out of bounds. That kick would have knocked anyone out of bounds, he's strong. I thought to myself, there's no telling how strong young Todoroki is, but if he was able to tank Izuku's attack, he's truly strong. AM thought as I stood on my front paws. Todoroki sent another ice attack. I jumped out of the way and landed a few feet away from Todoroki. All I know about Todoroki's fights, I don't have enough information, but he relies solely on his ice attacks. I need to break the ice behind him, so I have to use my acrobatics to avoid as much as I can. I thought to myself, Todoroki turns to look at me, but I'm already behind him. I go to attack with my front paw, but out of instinct he creates a small ice wall. I slash through it, knocking the ice on top of him. Before I know it, he grabs my arm, freezing it. Even if he has a block of ice hitting the back of his head, I take my arm back, jumping back. I hold my frozen arm, F-sharp CK, he got my arm. I thought to myself before noticing Todoroki running up an ice ramp before jumping up above me, but I smirked, grabbing his leg with my tail before smashing him on the ice ramp as I flung him to me and punching him in the gut, knocking him straight towards the boundary, but he creates an ice wall behind him, stopping him from going out of bounds. That's a lot more powerful than before. You don't want me close, huh, after I froze your arm. Todoroki says as he gets up. It's not just his quirk. His judgment, application skills, and mobility. All his abilities are strong. I thought to myself, they're stronger than most pros out there. Person 1 says, it's as expected from the son of the number 2 hero. Person 2 says, what is it? You're worn out doing all those acrobatics. Todoroki says before I look up, seeing his right arm shake. He's shaking. So that's what it is, damn it. I thought to myself, sorry. But thank you, Izuku. Thanks to you, his face has clouded. Todoroki says before I hit my arm on the ground, breaking the ice off of it. Breaking the ice won't dash. Todoroki says before, shut up. You think you can defeat anyone with your right side? I yell as I appear in front of him with great force. I punch him in the gut, sending him back with a big gust of wind. He tries using his ice to stop himself from getting out of bounds, but the ice breaks before he finally stops, but a few inches away from the line. Why do you go that far? You're shaking, Todoroki. A quirk is a part of physical ability. You have a limit as to how much cold your body can take. And isn't that something that can be solved by using the heat from your left? Everyone is giving their best to win and reach their goals. To become no. Winning with half of your power. You haven't been able to give me a single scratch yet. Come at me with all you've got. I yell, my eyes crimson red, this is bad but good. Mei says as everyone looks at her in confusion, as you all know his body has gas canisters but one in particular that we have no control over. It's like adrenaline that flows through his body. It can be dangerous for his body, and the last time he used it he brutally beat a guy for hurting me. But most of his anger is focused on Todoroki holding his power back because of Endeavor. Mei says as everyone sits there scared a little. Izuku. What are you trying to do? With everything I've got. Did my DMN father pay you to do this? How annoying. Todoroki says before running at me, you can't do anything to me with how tired you are. I thought before I got punched in the gut knocking me back a few feet, it's a direct hit. That was a good one. PM says, he was able to punch Todoroki even though Ori was worn out. He's such to full offense now. Person 1 says as Todoroki stands up he sends a wave of ice at me but it's slower and bigger. Todoroki runs up to me trying to get behind me but I hit him again knocking him back. My brain goes fuzzy but I slap myself. Should we stop this? Midnight. Ori is overdoing it, it's like he's using his adrenaline to fight. He may not feel much pain right now because of the adrenaline. Cementos says he's losing power but his body is losing control. He's not just overdoing it. To win, adrenaline is the best thing he has. But still, even though it can be healed. To willingly use adrenaline causes him great pain, but requires a lot of determination. What is settling him off? Aizawa thought before walking out, Todoroki, I can see your pain. You can't hide the pain from someone who already knows pain. I thought to myself, why do you go that far? Todoroki says, I want to live up to my past expectations. To smile and give a response. I want to be a cool hero like that. I say before punching Todoroki in the gut nearly collapsing but I stand back up. That's why everyone is giving their all. Your circumstances, and your determination, are something I understand. But you want to become number one and deny your father without giving your all. You need to stop being a fool. I say Todoroki POV flashback. I lay on the ground coughing as my father stood there. Stand up. If something like this knocks you down, you won't be able to take down any villains, let alone All Might. My father said as my mother ran up to me, please stop. He's only 5, my mother says, he's already 5. Don't interrupt, my father says before smacking my mother out of the way. In a bedroom, I don't want to, Mom. I don't want to be like Dad. I don't want to become someone that bullies you, Mom. I said crying to my mother, but you want to be a hero, right? You can become one if you have a future you feel strongly about, my mother says on the balcony. I watch as my siblings play ball outside before my dad drags me away. Don't look, Shoto. They don't belong in the same world as you, my dad says late at night. Mom, I'm going crazy. I can't go on. Day by day, my kids are becoming more like him. Shoto's left side sometimes becomes unbearable to me. I can't raise them anymore. I shouldn't raise them, my mother says, Mom. I say before my mother looks at me with fearful eyes. In the hall, what a bother during this crucial time, my father says, where's Mom? I ask, she injured you, so I put her in a hospital. My father says, it's your fault. Because you did that to Mom. I say angrily back with the fight, I will not use my father's power. I say getting up from the ground, isn't it your power? Izuku yells in a bedroom, yes, that's right. Quirks are passed down from parent to child, but what's important is not the connection, but your flesh and BLD. That you recognize that it's your own. With that in mind, this is what I say. I'm here. Like that. All Might says on TV, but you want to be a hero, right? You can become one, my mother says. Before I knew it I had forgotten. I say, you don't have to be imprisoned by your BLD. You can become who you want to be, my mother says. Izuku POV right before my eyes, I see fire light around Todoroki. This is, PM says, he made him use his left side. Young Midoriya, were you trying to save young Todoroki? AM thought, even though you want to win, damn it, you're helping out an enemy. Who's the one being a fool now? I too want to be a hero. Todoroki says as the left of his body is on fire. Shoto. You finally accepted. Endeavor stops before noticing my red eyes staring at him, telling him, if you don't stop talking you're dead. Endeavor's eyes widen, never feeling fear from a kid as he leans against the wall. I look back at Todoroki, amazing. I say, smirking, why are you smiling, in this situation and with the adrenaline wearing off? You've gone crazy. I won't be responsible for what happens next. Todoroki says as his right foot starts freezing the ground, followed by his left sending incredible heat as I move all the adrenaline gas into my arms and legs. This could destroy my exoskeleton. But Mei has been prepared for this. I'm certain she can fix me. I thought to myself, midnight. We can't allow this to continue. Cemento says, controlling the ground, he won't be able to withstand it. Midnight says, activating her quirk before Todoroki sends a giant ice thing at me before I propel myself off the ground and over the ice. My exoskeleton legs are destroyed into metal pieces. I need to go faster. I say as I go faster and faster as Todoroki readies his attack. As I go faster, right after a cement wall goes up, I am already in front of Todoroki, tackling him out of the ring and into a wall, sending a powerful wind and knocking Midnight off her stand. 2 minutes later, as the dust settled, I lay on the ground with my exoskeleton legs and arms broken with severe burns, passed out. Todoroki unconscious on the wall. Midnight rushes over to them and checks their pulse but can't find mine before Midnight counts me dead. Wait. Mei yells and runs up to me. She unzips my chest, opening a metal container showing an exposed heart still beating. Oh, thank God. But Midnight, from the sports festival rule book, if both opponents are out of bounds at the same time it's a draw, and if the opponents are severely hurt they can't continue with the festival. Mei says. Midnight nods, it's a draw, no winner to continue up the board. 3 minutes later, Mei follows the nurse bots and into the nurse's office. Hey sweetie, please bring him to the bed. RG says as the robots lay me on the bed, and Mrs. Hatsume, your replica is similar to a human skeleton, but let's get to the process. RG says, pulling out a scalpel. Aftermath of the sports festival warning. Little NSFW Izuku POV. 3 hours later in the nurse's office, I wake seeing the white ceiling. I turn my head seeing it's almost the evening. I sit up in my bed feeling no pain. The last thing I remember is tackling Todoroki out of the ring and into the wall. I hear a groan in the bed next to me. I turn my head to see Todoroki with a bandage on his head. Hey. I say, yawning. He turns to look at me as I see him smirk, which surprised me. I thought my injury was bad, but you smiled. Did you hit your head too hard? I say, no, I'm just happy about what you said. Todoroki says, oh yeah, but let's talk when we're fully healed. I say before the door opens, showing the recovery girl. Oh good, you two are awake. The class is waiting for you in waiting room 2. I healed you the best I could. She says, thank you recovery girl. I say, getting up from the bed, I know now, go on, your class is waiting. She says as I walk to the door, surprising me that I'm able to walk before I walk out the door. At the waiting room door I stood there nervous. Is something wrong, Izuku? Todoroki asks. I never had the best days back in junior high school when I came back from the nurse's office, but I'd rather not talk about it. I say, I understand, here I'll go first. Todoroki says, opening the door before walking in, followed by me ducking under the door before me and Todoroki gets surrounded by the class asking questions. Izuku. I hear Mei yell running past the class as she jumps at me, wrapped her arms around my neck as she dangles from my height. But I heard crying. I thought you wouldn't wake up when the first hour ended. Mei says. I smile. Todoroki, try answering their questions. I need to bring her home. I say as Todoroki nods. I walk out, Mei still clinging to me. Mei's house, 8:38 p.m. I open the door into her house. The sun almost set. I set her on her bed as I walk over to the bathroom, turning on the bathtub. The size of the bathtub is bigger than a normal bathtub. After about a minute, the bathtub a little above half full. I get in it, soaking my body in the water before I hear someone knock on the bathroom door. It's open. Mei. I say, closing my eyes, relaxing. I then feel a small weight on my chest. I open my eyes before I blush harshly, seeing Mei laying on top of me naked. I look around, not seeing an escape route out of this situation. I feel her moving her melons rubbing against my chest, my face heating up. After about 20 minutes I pick her up to get out of the tub. I wrap a towel around Mei before I go into a room specially made for me by Mei. I step in, pressing a button as air from the walls blow air at me as the water on. My body and the water in the cotton in my body fall to the ground. 2 minutes later me and May lay in the bed before I kiss her forehead. Good night. She says, good night my love. I say as we go to sleep. Time to pick some names. Sorry for the long wait. Izu POV intro. During the break after the sports festival, I got used to my new endoskeleton, and from today, it's a normal day in school. Or so I had thought. I narrate end of intro. On the train, I was lucky to find a spot in the train for my giant size. I thought to myself, hey, young man. Hey. You're Ori from the hero course. You were great in the sports festival. You were close, person 1 says as everyone starts talking to me. I start blushing a little. Off the train, I'm still tired. I wish I could sleep more. I say walking in the rain. Good morning, Izu. Iida says. I turn to see Iida running in a raincoat and rain boots. Why are you walking so slowly? We're late. Iida says, running past me. Iida, we still have 5 minutes before the bell. I say, jogging after him. UA students are expected to be 10 minutes early. Iida says, before speeding up inside the school. I shake the water in my fur. Iida, I heard about your brother on the dash. I say, don't worry Izu, he's fine. Sorry for making you worry. Iida says, in the classroom, there's a difference after being aired on TV, huh? I was stopped so many times on the way here. Mina says, people were staring at me, so I was embarrassed. Hokajira says, isn't that usual for you? Ojiro says, as for me, a little kid gave me the okay chant. Sero says, it's okay. Tsuyu says as Sero whines, what was yours? Like Izu, someone had to recognize you. But we've become the center of attention in just one day. Kami says, do you want me to answer your question or not? I said, lifting my head up from my nap, sorry, I wasn't thinking. Sorry, you can go back to sleep. Kami says before I lay my head back down. Aizawa opens the door. Good morning. Aizawa says as we all rush to our seats. Good morning. The class says, ribbit. Aizawa's bandages came off. I'm glad. Tsuyu says, that old lady's treatment is overdramatic. Anyways, today's Hero Informatics PRD is a little special. Aizawa says as everyone freezes, special. Is it a test? Please don't let it be. Kami thought, as it is already, I'm not good with laws regarding heroes. Kiri thought, code names. You'll think of your hero names. Aizawa says, this is the exciting stuff. The class cheers before Aizawa activates his quirk as everyone sits back down. Jesus Christ, I thought to myself, it's because this is related to the hero draft picks I talked about the other day. The drafts start proceedings in 2 to 3 years, after you've gained experience, and are regarded as work-ready by the pros. In other words, the calls that the first-year students received shows the interest they have in your future. It's possible for the offers to be rescinded if their interest in you dies down before graduation. Aizawa says. The calls we received will come in our own bundle, right? Hokajira says, right. And these are the results of the offers that you received, Aizawa says as he clicks a button as a hologram says, number of offers in class A, as the class names are shown with a number showing the amount of offers for that student. Usually, it's more distributed, because these two drew attention this year. Aizawa says, they're on a different level. Kami says, first place is Todoroki, second place is Izu, and Bakugo is third. Jiro says, confused, it's the opposite of the sports festival ranking. Kiri says, they're probably scared of the two since the first and second match Izu was in and Bakugo destructive quirk. Sero says, understandable. I say, pros shouldn't be getting scared. Baku says, you're amazing, Todoroki. Momo says, I'm sure it's all BC of my dad. Tadu says, I got an offer. Uraraka says, shaking Iida, with that mind, regardless of whether you received offers or not, you'll be in an internship with the pro heroes. Aizawa says, internship. I say, my ears twitching in curiosity. Yes. At USJ, you all have already experienced a fight against the villains, but by actually working alongside a pro, you can receive a more productive training. Aizawa says, that's what the hero names are. 4. Sato says, I'm looking forward to it. Uraraka says, the hero names are temporary, but if you're not serious about it, Aizawa says, then you'll be sent to hell. Since the names chosen as a student could become well known and end up as your professional name. Midnight says walking in, well, that's how it is. Midnight will evaluate your choice of names. I can't do those things. Aizawa says flashback, what? You haven't decided on a hero name, young present Mike says snapping his fingers, I don't want to be on the news and I don't care about names. Young Aizawa says, okay, then. Then you're Eraserhead. Young PM says, okay, that's fine. Young Aizawa says bored end of flashback, choosing a name that represents your future, projects your desired image and brings you closer to it. That's what it means to say, names and nature often do agree. Like All Might. Aizawa says as a board is handed to me by Baku, he would normally throw it at whoever is behind him. Has he changed? But off that topic I need an idea, I thought to myself a few minutes later, you can present it once you've finished. Midnight says, we have to present it. Kiri thought, that requires a lot of confidence. Sero thought to himself, here I go. A shining hero. I cannot stop twinkling. Aoyama says holding up his whiteboard, that's a sentence. Some of the class thought to themselves, you should remove the I and shorten the cannot to can't. Midnight says changing his hero name, right, mademoiselle. Aoyama says, then I'm next. My hero's name is Alien Queen. Mina says showing her whiteboard, do you want to be that thing with acidic BLD? Stop that. Midnight says scared, darn. Mina says walking back to her seat, since the weird ones went first, it feels like ours has to be funny too, some of the class thought, ribbit. May I go next? Tsuyu says, raising her hand, sure, Tsuyu. Midnight says, I decided on this name back in elementary school. Rainy season hero, Froppy. Tsu says, how cute. It's so personable too. It's a good model for a lovable name. Midnight says, Froppy, Froppy, Froppy. The class cheers as I get an idea. Then me too. Sturdy hero, Red Riot. Kiri says confidently, Red Riot. This is a homage to the chivalrous hero, Crimson Riot, right? Midnight says, yes, he's old school, but Crimson is everything that I want to be. Kiri says, shouldering the same name you admire will come with such pressure. Midnight says, I'm prepared for that. Kiri says, not bad, but I should go for a name that doesn't match my creepy body. I thought to myself, oh no, I haven't thought of a name yet. Kami says, should I name you? How's Jammingway? Jiro says, oh, it's a parody of Hemingway who wrote A Farewell to Arms. That sounds smart. It's cool. Kami says, well, even though you're really strong you always become like that. Jiro says trying not to laugh, hey, Jiro. Stop fooling around. Kami says as Jiro rushes up to the pedestal, hearing hero, earphone jack. Jiro says, that's nice. Next. Midnight says, tentacle hero, tentacle. Shoji says, it's a play on words with tentacles and taco. Midnight says, taping hero, cellophane. Sero says, easy to understand. That's important. Midnight says giving a thumbs up, martial arts hero, tailman. Ojiro says, it represents your body. Midnight says, sweets hero, Sugarman. Sato says, how sweet. Midnight happily says, Pinky. Mina yells, stun gun hero. Charge bolt, by putting together charge and lightning bolt. Kami says, probably BC her, he needs to charge his brain after using his quirk. I chuckle to myself, stealth hero, invisible girl. Tour says, keep them coming, everyone. Midnight encourages, so that I don't bring shame to this name, everything hero, Creati. Momo says, it's creative. Midnight says, Shoto. Shoto says, that's your name. That's okay. Midnight says, yes. Shoto says, jet black hero, Tsukimi. Toko says, god of the night. Midnight says, fresh-picked hero, grape juice. Mineta says, it's pop and kitschy. Midnight says, petting hero anima. Koji wrote, okay, sure. Midnight says, king explosion murder. Baku says, you should refrain from. Midnight as I face palm, well, I'll present mine. I had already thought of it. Uravity. Uraraka says, how clever. Midnight says a few minutes later, choosing a hero name is going a lot smoother than I expected. The ones left are Bakugo, who has to think of another name, Iida, and then Ori, right. Midnight says flashback for Iida, Tenya, I didn't know whether to tell you yesterday, but I can't feel my legs at all. Iida's brother says, that can't be. You're lying. Iida says, the ingenium will probably end right here. Iida's brother says, no. You still have to lead so many people. I don't want this. Iida says, starting to cry, I don't either. And so if it's okay with you, will you carry the name for me? Iida's brother says end of flashback as Iida was about to write something but stopped. I can't not yet. Iida thought he then sets the white board on the pedestal only saying his name, that's your name Ori, are you done? Midnight says, probably I had another name in mind but this one will show that I'm not scary, I'm the nap time hero, CatNap. I say, interesting, what was your first idea? Midnight asks curiously, it's best that you guys wait and see. I say as I go lay down at my desk. So just to point out Izu's desk doesn't have a chair connected to it, is a little taller than the other desks, and you're probably wondering about his uniform. Well, he basically only wears a tie since his body isn't actually made to wear shirts, so he's pretty naked. He does have you know what, but that's hidden. He's basically just a large purple cat. If you're also curious about his mouth, it isn't open 24/7. He can move his jaw. That basically explains his body, with AM. In the staff room, an offer for a first-year student has just come in. Cementos says at the computer, for who? AM in his weak form, Izu Ori. Cementos says as AM curiosity peaks, really? Let's see. This person is, AM says frightened and confused back with class 1A Lord Explosion Murder. Baku yells, no, that's not it. Midnight says, now that everyone has their hero names, let's talk about internship. It's 1 week long. As for where it is, those who received offers will be given a separate list so you can choose from there. Those who didn't receive offers, will choose from the list we've prepared of 40 agencies that have agreed to take students in. Location and special forte for each one differs. Aizawa says holding up a stack of papers, for example, 13 can focus on saving people from accidents and disasters instead of fighting villains. Midnight specified, think carefully and choose. Aizawa says, I want to fight violent crimes in the urban areas. Kiri says, I prefer something associated with water disasters. Is there such a thing? Tsu says, turn it in by the end of the week. Aizawa says, we only have 2 more days. Sero says, choose carefully. Class is dismissed. Aizawa says walking out with Midnight. To-do looks over his list before seeing his father's agency lunch break. Ugh, did everyone decide on a pro agency? Mina says slumped over her desk, I chose him lady. Mineta says as I face palm at his obsession over ladies, I have met many perverts especially in junior high. I say, what junior high did you come from? Mina asks as I look over to Baku, rather not say, I say still looking through the different agencies. Ashido, you had advanced pretty far so it's weird that you didn't receive any offers. Ojiro says, right. Mina whines, did you decide yours, Izu? Uraraka asks, nope, none of them just sticks. I say, you're really stuck aren't you, huh? Tsu says as part of the class walk up to my large desk, I've actually chosen mine already. Uraraka says, really? Mina says surprised, where? Ojiro says curiously, Battle Hero Gunhead's agency. Uraraka says, Gunhead is a super martial artist, interesting. I say interested, yup. I got an offer. Uraraka says, I see. I had assumed you were aiming to be a hero like 13, I say, eventually, yes. But when I fought against Bakugo at the sports festival, I realized that there are more responsibilities the stronger I get. If I only do I want, it narrows my perspectives. Uraraka says after school, Izu let's walk home dash. Uraraka says walking up to me before seeing Mei on my back, she's been non-stop working so I'm having to carry her home dash. I say opening the door before AM rushes in front of the door. I came in this unique form. AM says before I close the door in his face, you know what I'm going out the window. I say walking to the window, wait mid-dash. AM says in a calmer voice before I glare at him not wanting him to finish that sentence. AM clears his throat, young Izu please come with me. AM says, fine. I sigh in the bathroom hall as we stood there, Mei was still asleep on my back, why did you wake me up? Mei yawns, I'll get straight to the point. You received an offer from a hero. AM says, I got a lot of offers what's so special I say, his name is Gran Torino. He was a teacher at UA for just 1 year. He was my homeroom teacher, AM said sweating, my eyes widening, he sees great potential in you. AM says, potential yeah right. I said annoyed. He retired a long time ago, so I forgot to count him in. Is it because I wrote about you in a letter I sent? But since he sent an offer using his old name I'm so scared why won't my legs stop shaking? AM says scared out of his mind I stand there scared myself at the thought of training with this Gran Torino anyway, even though you have many internships, you received an offer. He will train you close to what my training was. AM says shaking harshly holding out a card, he's terrified of this person. What did he do to him? I thought to myself with Aizawa in the teacher's office, is it an internship? Snipe asks, yeah. There are few who make quick decisions. Aizawa says looking through internship papers, it's an important event. Make sure they think it through. There's some in the 3rd year that are regretting it now. Snipe says before walking away, you're right. Iida's agency of choice he had received offers from better agencies. Hero agency in Hosu. Don't tell me. Aizawa says with Izu at the entrance, what, you choose Izu? Uraraka asks, I actually got something I don't quite know if I should talk about, I say as Mei groans asleep on my back, she's been asleep for a while is she feeling okay? Uraraka asks, she stayed up for 2 nights working on a project so I should get her home. I say before turning to Iida's shoe locker I open it seeing he already changed shoes, did Iida leave already? Uraraka asks, yeah. I say, after the sports festival, I learned more about Iida's brother. The ingenium case that happened in Hosu, Tokyo. The fugitive criminal is elusive. He has killed 17 heroes in the past and injured 23 heroes beyond recovery. The hero killer. Villain name is Stain. Iida didn't tell me anything. Later on, we were surprised to hear that his location for internship was in Hosu, where the incident occurred. But I couldn't say anything to Iida since he never talked to me about it. And the situation stayed that way, as the day for the internship arrived. What are you doing, Iida? I narrate at the train station, you all have your costumes, right? Usually, you aren't allowed to wear them in public. Don't drop them. Aizawa says, okay. Mina says happily, don't elongate it. Make it short, Bushido. Aizawa corrects Mina, okay. Mina says upset, try not to be a burden to the heroes during your internship. Now go. Aizawa says, please be safe Izu. Mei says worried, I will. I say kissing her on the forehead before noticing Iida already walking away. Iida. If you ever feel hopeless, let us know. We're friends, right? I say as I feel worried but happy I have friends, yeah. Iida says before walking away. At the moment, I should have been more insistent. Later on, I would come to regret this day I feel like my past emotions are coming back. I narrate. Bizarre. Gran Torino appears I get hit to the ground, no, that's not it. Without a place to hide, I have to stop his movements instead of trying to follow him. I need to keep an eye on him. I thought to myself before my wristband forms metal claws around my paw, he hit my back twice already. Then. I thought to myself before turning around as he propelled towards me, analyze and predict, huh. He says as I slash at him but he dodges, but you're slow. And your senses are not in harmony. That's why this happens. He says pinning my head to the ground, I was sure I had you. I say as my mechanical claw turns back into a wristband, that's it, you use your speed during the cavalry battle and the tournament, your mind can't keep up all the time like if you're facing an opponent with similar speed. He says, my mind. I say, you say you want to be stronger, and that's true. But villains will not wait for you to get stronger. You think your speed is more important than your mind. He says, but how should I say sitting up, find that answer on your own. I'm going to buy something to eat. You're in charge of cleaning, he says as I sigh, but what's this one for all, I say. Iida POV. Meanwhile in Hosu City, usually, we wait for calls from clients, but as you know, it's been busy these days in Hosu. Pro Hero Manual says, patrolling the streets will help suppress crime. I say, that's right. But I'm so surprised that Ingenium's brother came to our agency. I'm sure you had offers from heroes more capable than me. Manual says, hero killer. He is so elusive that he can't be caught even with modern society encircling the net. This might be useless. But still no one can stop me from going after him. I cannot forgive him. Iida thought to himself, no POV with the League of Villains, I see, so you guys attacked UA. And you're asking me to join you. Hero Killer Stain says, yeah. I'm begging you, our senior villain. Shigaraki says, what's your objective? Stain asks, first of all, I want to kill All Might. I want to destroy everything I don't like. DMN brats like this too. All of them. Shigaraki says, holding up a picture of Aizu Ori. It was silly of me to have taken interest. You're the type I hate the most. You want me to follow along with your childish tantrums. What's the meaning of killing without a strong conviction? Stain says, getting ready to draw his swords, hero killer, Stain. A man that was called to incite growth in Shigaraki Tamura, who only shows interest in destruction. But this MSTR, you don't need to stop this. Kurojairi says, this is fine. There's no point in giving away answers. He needs to figure out his own imperfections. To incite growth. That's what it means to educate someone. Unknown says, from a computer Aizu POV with Aizu, my mind can't keep up. My senses are not in harmony. Like he said, I'm too slow. I need to keep my mind at the same speed I move. Might as well look. I say, unzipping my chest and taking my old burnt notebook out, I just need to train my mind to the best of my ability. I say, dipping my claw in ink and start writing. His mind is flexible but suppressed. I knew that from what I saw during the sports festival. He could have been a good successor, Toshinori. What stopped you? Gran Torino thought, with Bakugo at best genist agency in central Tokyo. Honestly, I don't like you. The reason why you chose my agency is because I'm one of the top 5 heroes, right? BJ says, you're the one that made the offer. I say, confused and annoyed, recently, all my recruits have been perfect little angels, so you certainly stood out. I watched the way you fought at the sports festival. You have a good handle on your powerful quirk, and a decent grasp of its application as well. You're an outstanding talent. I'd say you're already good enough to take on as a sidekick. However, you do have a fatal flaw. You believe you're the best, and you display that belief without regard for how it reflects on you or your image. You have a ferocious nature. BJ says, don't tell me you brought me here just to give me a lecture. I say angrily as I step forward, but I immediately get tied up by strings. I have to correct people like you. It's part of my duty to society. Heroes and villains are cut from the same cloth. So your job here is to watch me. I'll show you what makes someone a hero. BJ says, controlling the threads of his coat to hold me in place, what the hell are you doing? I ask, isn't it obvious? I'm educating you on becoming an exemplary pro. That includes being aware of the way you speak, your appearance, control your emotions, your morals. There are countless things you need to learn, but in the brief PRD of 1 week, I will stitch these things into the fabric of you being. BJ says as we glare at each other. Kirishima POV, whoa. Me and Tetsu yell in surprise, Tetsutetsu. I say, Kirishima. Tetsu says back, hey, what are you doing here? We both say, we were able to put in 2 offers this year. Let's begin right now. Fourth kind says, I look forward to working with you. We both say bowing our heads, I was impressed by the guts both of you showed at the sports festival. I like you too. However, being a hero isn't easy, and you can't rely on brute force alone. So this week, you'll learn from my experience. FK says, that's the chivalrous hero. Tetsu says, he's so manly. I say, wait for me to finish speaking. FK says, hitting his hand on the table, yes, sir. Apologies. We both say bowing our heads, I'll have to teach you proper manners, too. FK says, thank you very much, sir. We both say, first, let's talk about why we're here. Pros receive wages from the government, so we're civil servants. But, there's more to it than that. With the quirks we offer, our responsibilities are different from regular workers. Now, regarding our actual duties. FK says. Uraraka POV at Gunhead Agency, basic hero goal, control crime. Right. When a crime occurs, the police will contact us. These requests come in all at once, filtered by district. We file reports on the services we provided. Assisting with arrests, rescuing people, etc. Then a special agency looks at our work and decides how much we should be paid. You'll catch on quick, kiddo. Gunhead says as we walk through the streets, I didn't expect him to be so friendly. I thought to myself. Momo POV the snake hero, Iwabami agency. Additionally, heroes are allowed to have side jobs. There were a lot more arguments about this when the world of pros was first being established, but the heroes ended up being so popular that the public demanded it. For example, I'm about to film a commercial. Stick around, okay? Iwabami says, well. I was kinda hoping I'd see something with a little more action. Kendo says confused, no. This sort of attention is something you can't avoid if you're a pro. Besides, she was kind enough to offer her wisdom to an unworthy student. So I'll take every lesson she has to give. I say thoughtfully, she's really into this. Okay, but isn't there anything else we can do while you film this, or whatever? Kendo says super confused now, do you know why I chose you too? Any thoughts? Iwabami asks, well I guess, Kendo says, it must be because you saw such heroic potential in us. I said interrupting Kendo, of course I did. But there's another reason. You're both very cute young ladies. Iwabami says, huh. Me and Kendo says confused Jiro POV with Jiro and Death Arms on the street, heroes must practice and train constantly. You can't take a break, even when you're on patrol. DA says jogging, right. K. I say jogging behind him, ah, man. This is so much harder than class. I thought to myself Mineta POV with Lady and Mineta, you know what's a useful skill. Knowing how to pass the time while you're waiting to be called out to rescue someone. Got that. Empty Lady says eating chips while on the couch, sure. I say as I vacuum, this is not the kind of role play I was hoping for. I thought to myself annoyed to do POV at Endeavor Agency, I've been waiting for you, Shoto. You're finally ready to walk down the path of the mighty, my father says, I have no intention of following any path you've created. Only I can decide my future. I say, heh, is that so? You should go get ready. We're going out, he says, where to? I ask curiously, it's time I show you what it means to be a hero, he says with a smile. Izu POV, I'm snoring, I'm snoring. Gran Torino snores. He can't be serious. The first day of training down, and all he did was test me once. No actual hero work or field work. He just passed out after coming back with food. Gran Torino. I didn't get any hits when I searched for his name. AU, teacher for just 1 year. He's one big mystery. I thought to myself walking out the front door and down an alley, I need to control my senses to match my speed. Bakugo is able to keep up with his speed like it's natural. But I have little experience with my power. I need to be able to match my speed, so I set up this. I thought to myself looking at a motor connected to a pole with 3 ropes holding empty paint cans. I start the motor at low speed as the cans spin. I easily dodge them. Too easy. I say before turning up the speed, but immediately get smacked across the face falling next to a couple walking by. Monster, the couple yells running away. Do I really look that bad? I ask myself before getting back up. Next morning, good morning. What's wrong? You look beat. GT asks confused. I was training on my own yesterday and went too far. I tried to keep up with spinning paint cans, but it didn't work. Obviously I still have a long way to go. I say. My face is dirty. It's your first time trying, so it's to be expected. That is how training works. I too had the problem, but it became easier by the day, he says before the doorbell rings. Package for you. The DLVRY man yells, I'll take care of it for you. Got it, thank you. A microwave. I say, taking it out of the box. Yeah, for some reason, mine broke yesterday. Heh, so I bought a new one, he says. I can't tell if he's serious or not. I thought to myself confused, so what do you think? How about we eat some of that frozen food I bought? It'll be good, he says, rubbing the microwave, but the only thing you bought was dessert. I say, what can I say? I like the finer things in life, he says. Once the food was ready I set the food in front of him. Oh, yeah, look at these delicious babies. Get them while they're steaming. He says, my time is limited. What do I focus on? I say, why the long face, kitty, he says as a small blush forms. 1. I'm not entirely a cat, I'm still human. 2. Everything is so complicated. I say as he eats his food. Yeah, I'm changing the story right here, just don't think about it, he says as my eyes widen. Don't think about that. If I don't think about where to go, my body itself can lead me to follow my instincts. I say as I sit down in the middle of the room and the dots in my dark eye sockets disappear, basically closing his eyes. He found the secret. Instead of his mind trying to keep up, he lets his mind rest, letting his body take control, he thought, intrigued. Sorry Dragon Ball fans that know what I'm doing. Gran Torino smirks before without warning goes to kick me in the face, but I tilt my head to the side dodging it as he propels back standing in front of me. Tell me, can you move in this state? He asks, dropping his cane. I don't know for sure. I say, trying to do little thinking. Wanna give it a try? He asks smirking. Yes. Let's do this. I say as I have a standoff against him.